In the shadow of history, there are stories that remain untold, questions that refuse to be answered. Dark, chilling mysteries that have haunted humanity for centuries. Whispers of lost civilizations, unexplainable disappearances, and ancient secrets buried beneath the Earth's surface. What truths have been hidden, lost in time, or deliberately erased from the pages of our past? Tonight, we venture into the unknown, piecing together fragments of forgotten histories and searching for answers where few dare to look. Stay with us as we unravel the darkest mysteries ever to be whispered through time. In the arid expanse of the Jordan Valley, near the ancient city of Jericho, rises a mysterious structure, one that has confounded historians and archaeologists for centuries. Known as Jericho Tower, this towering stone edifice is nestled within the ruins of one of the oldest inhabited cities on Earth. Its exact purpose has long been the subject of debate, its origins shrouded in the mists of time. At first glance, the tower is an unassuming sight, a rough, circular structure built from large, unrefined stones, some of which seem to have been painstakingly placed together, others standing almost precariously in place. Its height, standing at about 8.5 meters, does not quite match the grandeur of modern skyscrapers, but within the context of its time, it would have been a striking landmark. The surrounding landscape, a mixture of fertile land and desert, adds to its allure, as if the tower was meant to serve both as a marker and a guardian for the people who lived here more than 10,000 years ago. The tower itself was constructed sometime around 8000 BC, during the pre-pottery Neolithic period. This was a time when humans were transitioning from a nomadic, hunter-gatherer lifestyle to settled agricultural communities. Jericho was one of the earliest such settlements, and it would have been a place of great significance for the people who called it home. The tower is a testament to their engineering skill, suggesting a level of planning and organization that seems almost ahead of its time. But why, in this early stage of human history, would a community construct such a structure? Some historians suggest the tower was a defensive structure, built to watch over the city and its inhabitants. Its strategic location would have made it ideal for spotting approaching threats from the surrounding landscape. But this explanation doesn't entirely satisfy all those who study the site. Jericho's walls, which are also remarkably well preserved, were likely the primary fortifications for protection. So why build a tower as well? Others speculate that the tower had a more symbolic or ritualistic purpose. Its alignment with the surrounding terrain, particularly the nearby hills and the Jordan River, hints at an ancient understanding of astronomy, and some have suggested that the tower could have been used to mark certain celestial events, such as solstices or equinoxes. It's possible that the tower served as an astronomical observatory, an early attempt to understand the movements of the heavens and their significance to life on Earth. Yet, more perplexing still is the question of why the tower was abandoned after such a relatively short period of use. By around 7000 BC, the structure appears to have been left in disrepair. No clear explanation has been found for this sudden abandonment. Was it a shift in the city's social or religious practices? A change in the climate that made Jericho less hospitable? Or something more mysterious? Something beyond what we can understand with the evidence available? Even more intriguing are the fringe theories that attempt to explain the tower's purpose and its abandonment. Some believe the tower could have been linked to ancient, lost technologies, an idea fueled by the fact that such early societies seemed to possess advanced knowledge of construction and engineering. Could there have been a deeper, more hidden reason for the tower's creation? A purpose not yet discovered? Others point to the possibility of an ancient civilization with knowledge that far exceeded what we associate with the Neolithic period. The structure's role as both a physical and cultural marker continues to spark curiosity. While many researchers have concluded that it was simply a part of the city's development, its exact function remains elusive. Was it a defensive structure, a ceremonial site, Or something entirely different? An enigma that defies easy explanation? Perhaps the most profound mystery surrounding Jericho Tower is not just its purpose, but its continued existence. After millennia of abandonment, destruction, and change, the tower still stands as a silent witness to a long-lost world. It raises the question, what other secrets might be buried beneath the layers of history in this ancient city? What knowledge, what stories, have been lost to time? The answers, if they exist, remain buried beneath the dust of centuries. The Jericho Tower, like the city itself, invites us to look deeper, to question what we think we know, and to wonder, what might still be waiting to be uncovered? As we continue our journey through history's most puzzling and chilling mysteries, we turn our attention now to a haunting discovery, an eerie, enigmatic sight that raises more questions than answers. In the heart of Central Europe, deep in the forests of what is now the Czech Republic, lies a series of ancient mass graves. The skeletal remains of thousands of individuals, interred centuries ago, have been uncovered, their fates sealed in the earth for over a millennium. These mass graves, many of which date back to the early centuries of the first millennium BC, have sparked a multitude of theories. Were they the result of ancient warfare, the violence of conquest, or perhaps something darker, a ritualistic practice lost to time? The graves were first uncovered in the 19th and early 20th centuries, hidden beneath layers of soil near the town of Bohemia. They were discovered in a region rich with ancient artifacts, burial sites, and ruins, stretching back long before the arrival of recorded history. The skeletal remains found here, human bones arranged in mass pits, were a puzzle. Some graves contained hundreds of bodies, others far fewer, but what all of them shared was an eerie uniformity in the manner of burial. There were no individual graves, no elaborate markers to indicate the identity of the deceased, and the bodies themselves were often hastily disposed of, arranged in a way that suggested chaos, violence, or perhaps an urgency. In their most rudimentary form, these mass graves can be understood as remnants of some kind of conflict. The people buried here may have been victims of an ancient war, a war whose scope and scale we can only begin to imagine. The time period, spanning roughly between the 6th and 3rd centuries BC, saw the rise and fall of tribal confederations across Europe. It was a time of territorial expansion, migration, and conflict between emerging civilizations, such as the Celts and indigenous tribes. Some researchers suggest that these mass graves could be the result of a brutal and bloody conflict, tribes slaughtered and abandoned in mass graves after skirmishes or larger battles. The remains of weaponry, such as iron swords and tools, have been discovered at some of the sites, hinting at violent clashes. Yet, not all of the evidence found points to war. In fact, some aspects of these graves defy the logic of battle. The bodies, though often broken and damaged, are not always arranged in a manner that suggests the chaos of a massacre. At some of the burial sites, the bones show signs of deliberate positioning. The skulls of certain individuals, for instance, were found to be placed face down or in specific alignment with one another, a deliberate act that raises the possibility of ritualistic practices. Could these mass graves have been part of a ceremonial or religious rite? Was there a belief that the dead needed to be placed in specific formations to appease the gods or ensure a peaceful transition to the afterlife? This theory is further bolstered by the discovery of what might be ritualistic objects, items like jewelry, weapons, and pottery, found alongside the bodies. Some graves contained offerings or remnants of fire, suggesting that these places might have served as sacred grounds, where the dead were honored or propitiated in some form. A closer inspection of the remains also reveals something more perplexing. Several of the individuals buried in these mass graves appear to have suffered extreme forms of trauma. Some skulls show signs of blunt force injuries, while other bones bear evidence of brutal treatment, such as bone fractures. Was this simply the result of battle? Or did these signs indicate something else? perhaps ritual sacrifice, where individuals were put to death as part of a cultural or spiritual ceremony. There are several theories that seek to explain this darker possibility. One suggests that these individuals were not merely victims of war, but sacrificial offerings to ancient deities. The concept of human sacrifice is not new to history. Across the world, ancient civilizations and tribes performed such rites, sometimes in the hopes of appeasing vengeful gods, other times as a means of ensuring prosperity or victory in battle. In the case of the Bohemian mass graves, some researchers suggest that these were not simply the bodies of fallen warriors, but the remains of people chosen for sacrifice. The very nature of their burial, often hurried, undignified, and chaotic, could point to the idea that these individuals were seen as expendable, their deaths a necessary part of some larger religious design. However, not all scholars are convinced by this theory. Some argue that the mass graves were the product of plagues or other disasters, events that overwhelmed the local population and left them with no choice but to dispose of the dead in mass graves. If this was the case, why would the bodies be buried with such careful precision in some instances, and haphazardly in others? And what of the signs of violent trauma? Could they be the result of a natural disaster that also triggered a wave of societal breakdown, leading to violence among neighboring tribes? One of the most fascinating elements of these mass graves is how little we know about the people they once contained. Though many of the remains have been carefully studied and catalogued, the identities and true stories of these individuals remain elusive. Who were they? What cultures did they belong to, and what was their relationship to the tribes and people who came after them? Were they the victims of invaders, or were they part of a tribal society that had succumbed to its own violent practices? The questions surrounding these graves, like many ancient mysteries, remain unanswered. While researchers continue to piece together the physical evidence, the larger questions, the why and the how of the mass graves, linger just beyond our grasp. Was it war, ritual, or something else entirely? The answer, it seems, may lie buried within the earth, awaiting the day when the final pieces of this dark puzzle can be uncovered. As we leave the forests of Bohemia, the mystery of these graves remains unsolved, their stories suspended in time. What truths, hidden beneath layers of soil and centuries of history, will someday come to light? And what other secrets, long forgotten, might still be waiting to be discovered? Only time, and further exploration, will reveal the full depth of this ancient enigma. As we move deeper into the ancient world, we come to another mysterious chapter of history, one that takes us high into the Peruvian Andes, to a place so remote and isolated that it feels almost like a world apart. Here, amidst the mist-shrouded peaks and the thick, verdant forests, lies the legacy of a people who have long since vanished from the earth, leaving behind only fragments of their enigmatic existence. These were the Chachapoya, the Cloud Warriors, a civilization whose name and achievements remain shrouded in mystery, despite the tantalizing clues they've left behind. The Chachapoya's most remarkable legacy is their astonishingly well-preserved culture, but it's the breathtaking landscapes of their ancestral lands that first capture the imagination. High above the lush Amazon rainforest, the Chachapoya constructed some of the most striking and elusive archaeological sites in the world. The most famous of these is Cuelap, a massive stone fortress nestled on a mountain ridge, built with thousands of intricately placed stones, some weighing several tons. From the ground, the site appears as a towering fortress, with walls that reach heights of up to 20 meters, an ancient citadel that once stood as a symbol of strength and power. Yet, despite its monumental size and grandeur, the purpose of Cuelap remains unclear. Was it a religious site, a military outpost, or something entirely different? The Chachapoya were a highly skilled and strategic people, living in an environment that demanded ingenuity and adaptability. The very name, Chachapoya, is derived from the Quechua words for cloud and warrior, a fitting description of their high-altitude homes in the cloud forests. They built their settlements on difficult-to-reach mountain ridges, making them nearly inaccessible to outsiders. The steep, mist-covered slopes offered both a natural defense and an eerie sense of isolation, as though the Chachapoya had chosen to live on the edge of the world, far removed from the other ancient civilizations of the Andes, such as the Inca. And yet, the Chachapoya were not isolated by choice. Their history is defined by conflict, conquest, and mystery. In the late 15th century, they fell under the dominion of the Inca Empire, which, at its height, stretched across vast territories of South America. But the story of the Chachapoya's integration into Inca society is one of ambiguity. Were they forcibly subjugated, or did they form alliances with the Inca, hoping to preserve their culture and way of life? Little is known about the final years of the Chachapoya civilization before the Spanish arrived in the early 16th century, but their fall is often attributed to a combination of Inca conquest, internal strife, and the devastating impact of European diseases. One of the most compelling aspects of the Chachapoya people is their burial practices. The Chachapoya are known to have buried their dead in a highly unusual way, by constructing tombs in the cliffs and mountainsides. These tombs, known as totems or chulpas, were often carved into the rock faces, sometimes with a series of small niches or caves that housed the remains of their deceased. In many cases, the bodies were placed in fetal positions, wrapped in textiles, and sometimes adorned with jewelry and pottery. These cliffside tombs were designed not just to serve as burial sites, but as symbols of the Chachapoya's connection to the gods and the forces of nature that governed their world. But what really sets the Chachapoya apart is the mystery surrounding their warrior culture. The phrase "cloud warriors" evokes a sense of legend and heroism, and the evidence suggests that the Chachapoya were formidable fighters. Accounts from early Spanish chroniclers describe them as fierce and resilient people who fought with exceptional skill in battle. Some of the most intriguing discoveries are the mummies, carefully preserved, ancient remains, found within these tombs. These mummies are not only a testament to the Chachapoya's complex burial rituals, but also to their formidable warrior status. Some have speculated that the mummies were not just people of importance, but warriors of great renown, preserved for posterity as a way of maintaining their power and influence even after death. Still, the question remains: why did the Chachapoya go to such great lengths to preserve their warriors? Were these individuals truly legendary figures, or were the mummified bodies merely symbolic representations of a belief system that prized strength and courage? Could the mummification process have been part of a larger ritual to maintain the spirit of these warriors, a way of ensuring their presence in the afterlife? Moreover, there is the matter of the Chachapoya's sudden disappearance. While many aspects of their society were absorbed into the Inca Empire, it's unclear exactly what happened to the Chachapoya people after the Spanish conquest. Some scholars suggest that the Chachapoya were assimilated by the Inca, while others argue that they were victims of a brutal campaign of extermination carried out by the Spanish. In any case, the Chachapoya seem to have vanished from history almost entirely by the end of the 16th century. The remnants of their civilization, their tombs, their cities, and their fortresses stand in silent testament to their lost culture. But the Chachapoya themselves remain a mystery. One of the most speculative theories surrounding the Chachapoya is their potential connection to other ancient civilizations. Some have suggested that the Chachapoya may have been influenced by, or even descended from, earlier cultures in the Andes, such as the Moche or the Nazca. Others have wondered if the Chachapoya's distinctive burial practices and warrior culture could have been inspired by distant civilizations that once spanned the South American continent. Could they have had contact with far-off peoples, perhaps from the Amazon basin or even from the highlands of Central America? The mysteries of the Chachapoya, like many ancient cultures, may never be fully solved. With much of their history lost to time and conquest, what remains are the questions. What was the true nature of the Chachapoya's warrior culture? How did they live, and why did they choose such a difficult, isolated existence? What drove them to build such massive fortresses, such intricate tombs, and such extraordinary burial rituals? As we stand at the precipice of the past, looking down into the clouds and mist that once cloaked the land of the Chachapoya, we are left with more questions than answers. What we do know is this: the legacy of the Cloud Warriors is one of resilience, mystery, and an unwavering connection to the natural world. But whether we will ever truly understand the depths of their culture, their beliefs, or their fate remains an open question. As we continue to unravel the dark and elusive threads of history, we arrive at a mystery buried beneath the sands of time in the heart of ancient Egypt. A place once thought to hold knowledge and power far beyond anything the world had ever seen, Egypt's enigmatic wonders continue to captivate our imagination. But there is one mystery that has evaded discovery for centuries, a labyrinth so intricate, so vast, that it was said to rival the greatest achievements of ancient architecture. This is the lost Egyptian labyrinth, a structure whose very existence remains a tantalizing riddle, leaving more questions than answers in its wake. Imagine, if you will, the vast Egyptian desert stretching before you. Beyond the towering pyramids and the ancient temples, there lies a place so mysterious it has been described as a forgotten wonder of the ancient world. The labyrinth, believed to be located near the pyramids of Giza, or in the region of Hawara, was said to be an immense structure, its maze of corridors stretching so far that even the most seasoned travelers could lose themselves within its walls. Ancient texts describe it as a sprawling, multi-story complex, adorned with thousands of statues, and containing rooms filled with treasures and knowledge. Some even claimed that the labyrinth contained a vast library, where the greatest minds of Egypt gathered to share their wisdom. The labyrinth was first mentioned by the Greek historian Herodotus in the 5th century BC. In his writings, he speaks of a structure unlike anything he had ever seen, a marvel of engineering and design. Herodotus claimed that the labyrinth was built by an ancient Egyptian king. Some sources suggest it was the pharaoh Amenemhat II, who reigned around 1800 BC, while others point to Pharaoh Amenemhat III, whose reign is marked by considerable architectural activity. What is certain is that the labyrinth existed at a time when Egypt's glory was at its peak, and the knowledge of its creation and purpose has remained hidden ever since. Ancient accounts describe the labyrinth as not just a single building, but a series of interlocking chambers and corridors, each designed with a deliberate purpose. The Greeks who witnessed it, including Herodotus and the historian Strabo, were struck by the sheer scale of the structure. The labyrinth was said to consist of 12 massive courts, each filled with columns, and every corridor lined with statues and reliefs depicting gods, kings, and the triumphs of Egyptian civilization. Some accounts even claim that the labyrinth contained the tombs of ancient kings and rulers, making it a site of both cultural and religious significance. Yet, despite these early descriptions, the labyrinth has never been found in its entirety. What happened to this monumental structure? Could it have been destroyed, buried, or simply lost to the ravages of time? While some suggest that the labyrinth's ruins are still hidden beneath the sands of Egypt, others wonder if it was intentionally erased from history. Could it be that the labyrinth was so filled with secrets of power, knowledge, and even supernatural belief, that those who came after it sought to ensure its disappearance? The most widely accepted theory is that the labyrinth was eventually abandoned and fell into ruin after Egypt's decline, particularly after the Greco-Roman period. Some suggest that the building may have been dismantled and its stones repurposed for other constructions, a fate not uncommon for monumental structures throughout history. In fact, The ruins of the labyrinth are believed to have been partially identified in the 19th century by explorers and archaeologists working near the Hawara region, close to the famed pyramids of the Middle Kingdom. The ruins found there, however, have never been definitively linked to the labyrinth, and the mystery remains unsolved. But there are other, more speculative theories that attempt to explain why the labyrinth remains so elusive. One theory suggests that the labyrinth's very design was so complex, so intricate and disorienting, that it was meant to be hidden from the unworthy, accessible only to those initiated into its mysteries. Could the labyrinth have been a kind of symbolic gate to forbidden knowledge, a secret repository of ancient Egyptian wisdom, hidden away from the world? Some believe that the labyrinth may have been a place of spiritual significance, perhaps tied to the Egyptian gods, where only the highest priests could enter and interpret its sacred symbols. Others speculate that the labyrinth could have been more than just a physical structure. Some suggest that it may have served as a metaphorical labyrinth, representing the journey of the soul or the spiritual trials one must endure to gain access to the divine. Could the complex design of the labyrinth reflect the very essence of Egyptian belief in the afterlife, where the soul of the deceased must navigate a maze of challenges before reaching eternal life? In this interpretation, the labyrinth would not simply be a building of stone, but a reflection of the cosmic journey that the Egyptians believed awaited them after death. There are even fringe theories that push the boundaries of the known world, suggesting that the labyrinth could have been a repository of lost technologies or wisdom that was intentionally hidden from the rest of humanity. Could the labyrinth have contained knowledge of advanced sciences, astronomy, or even technologies that were lost after the collapse of ancient Egypt? Some theories even propose that the labyrinth was a place where Egyptian priests kept secrets about their true understanding of the cosmos, preserving knowledge that would be far beyond the grasp of later civilizations. Despite these theories, no concrete evidence has emerged to confirm the existence of the labyrinth in its entirety. Archaeologists continue to search the Hawara region, hoping that some trace of this ancient wonder will eventually be uncovered. In the meantime, the descriptions of the labyrinth continue to fuel our imagination, sparking new questions about what it might have been and why it remains so elusive. What we do know for certain is that the lost Egyptian labyrinth remains one of history's most perplexing mysteries. Was it an architectural marvel, a place of secret knowledge, or a symbolic structure designed to reflect the mysteries of life and death? Perhaps, like so many other lost wonders of the ancient world, the labyrinth's secrets are destined to remain hidden, lost forever beneath the sands of Egypt. Or perhaps, one day, the truth will come to light, revealing what lies behind its legendary walls. Until then, we are left to wonder, what ancient knowledge lies buried, waiting to be discovered? As we move forward in our exploration of history's darkest mysteries, we turn our attention to another enigma, an ancient tomb that has long captured the imagination of archaeologists and historians alike. In the heart of Egypt, where the great pyramids rise against the desert horizon, lies a structure whose very existence raises more questions than answers. This is the Mastaba of Shepseskaf, the final resting place of an enigmatic ruler from Egypt's 4th dynasty. Its design, its purpose, and its ultimate abandonment are just a few of the unsolved mysteries that surround this tomb, one of the last to be constructed before the Great Pyramids themselves fell out of favor. The Mastaba, a rectangular tomb built of mud brick and stone, stands apart from the grand pyramids of Egypt. Unlike the towering monuments of Khufu and Sneferu, the Mastaba of Shepseskaf is relatively modest in size. Situated near the ancient city of Saqqara, it appears to have been intended for a king, a ruler whose name, Shepseskaf, is barely a whisper in the annals of history. He was the last pharaoh of the 4th dynasty, the final ruler before the transition into the 5th dynasty, and yet little is known about his reign. In fact, Shepseskaf's tomb may offer one of the few glimpses we have into his reign. mysterious, and shrouded in layers of history. What immediately stands out about the Mastaba of Shepseskaf is its unusual architectural design. While many of Egypt's rulers were buried in massive pyramids, Shepseskaf chose to be laid to rest in a simple, though still impressive, mastaba. This is a puzzling choice, as the pyramid was the ultimate symbol of royal power by this time. The pyramid's significance, with its association to the sun god Ra, had been firmly established, and most pharaohs before and after Shepseskaf were buried in elaborate pyramid tombs. Why, then, did Shepseskaf reject this tradition in favor of the more modest mastaba? The answer may lie in the very nature of Shepseskaf's reign. Historical records suggest that Shepseskaf's rule was marked by a period of transition, a time of relative instability and change in Egypt. The Fourth Dynasty was coming to an end, and with it, the monumental pyramid-building projects that had been a hallmark of Egypt's most prosperous period. Could Shepseskaf's decision to abandon the pyramid reflect a desire to return to the simpler, more traditional forms of burial, perhaps as a statement of humility or practicality? Or did it indicate a more profound shift in Egypt's religious or political landscape? Adding to the mystery is the manner in which the mastaba was constructed. Unlike many other tombs of the time, Shepseskaf's tomb was not built with the grand limestone casing that defined the pyramid tombs of earlier pharaohs. Instead, it was made using rough-hewn stones and mud brick, giving it a somewhat unrefined appearance when compared to the grand monuments that surrounded it. This choice of construction material is curious. Why would a ruler at the height of Egypt's power and wealth choose a less ambitious and more humble design for his final resting place? Some have speculated that Shepseskaf's choice to build a non-pyramid tomb was tied to his personal beliefs or his relationship with the gods. It's possible that, like some of his predecessors, he sought to distance himself from the growing emphasis on the afterlife that had been so central to the pyramid tombs. Perhaps Shepseskaf rejected the pyramid as a symbol of divine ascendancy, preferring a more subdued, earthly form of burial. Yet, no definitive explanation has emerged to confirm this theory, and the mystery of his choice remains one of Egypt's great unanswered questions. What is even more perplexing is the question of why the tomb was abandoned so suddenly after Shepseskaf's death. The Mastaba of Shepseskaf, though it may have been intended to be a monumental structure, seems to have been left unfinished or altered before it could be fully realized. Some sections of the tomb appear to have been hastily constructed or abandoned midway through, leaving behind a structure that is incomplete in several ways. Was this abandonment a result of political upheaval? Perhaps after Shepseskaf's death, Egypt's ruling elite turned their attention away from Saqqara, and construction on the mastaba was halted as a result of shifting priorities. Even more perplexing is the fact that Shepseskaf's tomb has never been fully excavated. While the outer portions of the mastaba have been explored, much of the interior of the tomb remains sealed, possibly holding secrets that have yet to be revealed. What treasures lie hidden within the tomb's walls? Could there be further clues as to why Shepseskaf chose such an unconventional burial site? The very fact that the tomb has not been fully explored only deepens the intrigue, leaving us to wonder what might still be hidden beneath the layers of stone and dust. Adding to the sense of mystery is the absence of significant inscriptions or markings within the tomb itself. Unlike other tombs, which were adorned with texts, hieroglyphs, and detailed depictions of the pharaoh's life and journey into the afterlife, the Mastaba of Shepseskaf offers little in the way of direct information about its occupant. What does this lack of inscriptions tell us about Shepseskaf's reign? Was he deliberately erased from history, or was it a sign of personal preference to avoid glorification? This absence of textual evidence adds another layer of ambiguity to an already enigmatic tomb. What we do know is this: the Mastaba of Shepseskaf stands as an enduring symbol of Egypt's changing face during the Fourth Dynasty. A king who chose to forsake the towering pyramids of his predecessors, opting instead for a simpler, more somber form of burial. Shepseskaf's tomb is a quiet but powerful reminder of the mysteries of ancient Egypt that still linger, waiting to be uncovered. As we stand before this strange and incomplete tomb, we are reminded that history is not always as it seems. The choices made by those who lived millennia ago continue to leave us with more questions than answers. What led Shepseskaf to reject the pyramid in favor of a mastaba? What secrets remain hidden within the walls of his unfinished tomb? Perhaps, like so many other enigmas of ancient Egypt, the answers to these questions will remain locked away, awaiting the day when they are finally brought to light. Until then, we are left to ponder. What mysteries still lie buried in the sands of time? As we journey further into the shadowy depths of history's most enduring mysteries, we arrive in a remote and desolate part of the world, the vast arid plains of southern Peru. Here, amid the rolling dunes and barren landscape, lies one of the most perplexing archaeological sites ever discovered, the Nazca Lines. Known for their sprawling geometric shapes and massive animal figures etched into the desert floor, the Nazca Lines have long been the subject of fascination and speculation. But while these enigmatic symbols continue to baffle scholars and enthusiasts alike, a far darker and more unsettling mystery was uncovered not far from their location: the discovery of the Nazca Mummies. In 2017, a team of researchers in the Nazca region revealed something that would send shockwaves through the world of archaeology. Buried in the sand, inside an ancient tomb, they uncovered a series of mummified remains that, at first glance, appeared to be human. But upon closer examination, these mummies showed something strikingly unusual: features that didn't match the typical anatomy of known human beings. With elongated skulls, elongated limbs, and strange, almost otherworldly characteristics, these mummies were unlike anything found before. Some were found wrapped in cloth, others lying in strange positions as though deliberately arranged. But what was truly remarkable were the anomalies in their anatomy, features that defied conventional understanding. The mummies, estimated to be over 1,000 years old, were discovered in a tomb complex near the Nazca Lines, a location known for its mysterious and often unexplained carvings in the earth. The tombs themselves were surprisingly well preserved, offering a glimpse into a civilization that once thrived in the region. While the identity of the people who created the Nazca Lines has long been debated, the discovery of these mummies seemed to suggest that the culture responsible for them may have had far more secrets buried beneath the surface, secrets that might forever change our understanding of ancient Peru. But what sets the Nazca mummies apart from other mummified remains is not just their unusual appearance, but the fact that their existence challenges the conventional narratives of ancient human history. Mainstream science has, for the most part, categorized these mummies as belonging to a previously unknown or obscure human culture that lived in the region at the time. However, these explanations don't account for the bizarre physical traits exhibited by the mummies. The elongated skulls, for example, have sparked widespread debate. The shapes of the skulls bear a resemblance to those found in other ancient cultures that practiced cranial deformation, yet the degree of elongation is unlike anything seen before. These anomalies have led to some extraordinary theories about the origin of these mummies. Could these be the remains of an entirely different species, one that somehow coexisted with humans? Or were they human beings with genetic traits that simply defy our current understanding? Some fringe theorists suggest that the Nazca mummies might not be of human origin at all, an idea that pushes the boundaries of archaeology into the realm of speculation. Could they represent a lost race of beings, possibly even extraterrestrials, whose presence on Earth was hidden for millennia? Such theories, while unsupported by mainstream science, continue to capture the imagination of those who seek answers beyond the conventional. The strange skeletal features are not the only anomalies to be found. The mummified bodies were also discovered in remarkably well-preserved states, some of them holding objects such as pottery and tools, suggesting a ritualistic significance. Others were found with their hands positioned in unusual postures, as though in the midst of some ancient ceremonial act. The preservation of the mummies themselves also raises questions. How were they preserved so perfectly in such a harsh environment? Could there have been advanced embalming techniques at play that we've yet to fully understand? The discovery of these mummies has also raised questions about the purpose of their burial. The tombs in which they were found were designed with extraordinary care, indicating a level of craftsmanship and dedication that would suggest the people who buried these mummies held them in high regard. Were these mummies royal figures, priests, or important leaders of the ancient Nazca civilization? Or perhaps, did they represent something else entirely? Beings who held power or knowledge beyond that of the common people, their bodies and secrets preserved for eternity? Even more perplexing is the timing of their discovery. The Nazca lines themselves have long been a source of wonder. The colossal designs, visible only from the air, have led to theories ranging from religious rituals to alien intervention. The lines themselves, whose purpose remains unknown, form intricate patterns, geometric shapes, figures of animals, and humanoid forms that stretch across hundreds of miles of desert. Could the mummies be linked to these enigmatic symbols? Some researchers have speculated that the mummies were in some way connected to the creation or purpose of the Nazca lines, perhaps as part of a larger religious or ritualistic context. Could the figures depicted in the lines represent a form of communication with these mysterious beings, their remains still offering clues to the unanswered questions about this ancient civilization? As the mummies continue to be studied, a more grounded theory has emerged, that these individuals were part of an ancient human civilization with practices, rituals, and beliefs that were quite advanced for their time. This theory suggests that their unusual physical features were the result of cultural practices, such as head binding or genetic mutation, rather than any outside influence. But even this more traditional explanation doesn't answer the question of why these individuals were so uniquely preserved, or why they were buried in such a peculiar manner. The fact that the mummies were found so close to the Nazca lines raises another question. Were these mummies directly connected to the creation of the lines themselves? Were the people buried in these tombs involved in the construction or religious practices that led to the formation of these strange, earthbound symbols? If so, what did they believe? And what role did these mummies play in their society? The more we learn about these mummies, the deeper the mystery grows. What we do know for certain is that the Nazca mummies represent a breakthrough in our understanding of the past, a glimpse into a civilization that was once lost, its secrets buried in the desert sands. But with so much still unanswered, the mystery of these ancient remains endures. What role did these mummies play in the lives of the people who created the Nazca lines? Were they revered as gods, ancestors, or something more? Could they be part of a larger, forgotten chapter of human history that we are only now beginning to uncover? The mystery surrounding the Nazca mummies, much like the lines themselves, is far from over. With each new discovery, the questions grow, and the answers seem to recede further into the shadows of time. What hidden truths might still lie beneath the sands of Peru, waiting to be uncovered? What do these strange, ancient remains tell us about the people who lived here, and the world they once knew? As we journey deeper into the realms of ancient history, where mystery and legend intertwine, we find ourselves at the threshold of a temple shrouded in enigma, a place whose very name evokes images of gods, serpents, and rituals that transcend the known. This is the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, located in the ancient city of Teotihuacan, one of the most awe-inspiring and mysterious civilizations in pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. Teotihuacan, often referred to as the City of the Gods, was a sprawling metropolis that reached its peak between 100 BC and 750 AD, long before the rise of the Aztec Empire. It was a city built by an unknown civilization whose origins remain a subject of debate. But it is within the heart of this enigmatic city that one of the most striking and mysterious structures stands: the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, also known as the Quetzalcoatl Temple. The temple itself is an architectural marvel, its design unlike anything else in Teotihuacan. Rising majestically from the plaza below, the structure is adorned with carvings and sculptures that depict a winged serpent, its feathers sweeping down its body in intricate patterns. The feathered serpent, or Quetzalcoatl, was one of the most revered deities in ancient Mesoamerican cultures, representing the duality of life, earth and sky, creation and destruction. The temple was dedicated to this god, who was often depicted as a serpent with feathers, combining the power of both the terrestrial and the celestial. The temple's placement within Teotihuacan is no accident. Positioned at the southern end of the city's Avenue of the Dead, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent commands attention. The avenue itself, a vast, broad path that stretches for nearly 2 kilometers, leads directly to the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, 2 other iconic structures that dominate the Teotihuacan skyline. Yet, while these other pyramids are grand in their own right, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent stands apart, both in its symbolic significance and its architectural complexity. The temple is an imposing structure, built on multiple levels, each one higher than the last. At the top of the pyramid sits a large platform, once the site of elaborate ceremonies and possibly human sacrifices. The walls of the temple are adorned with intricate reliefs and carvings that show serpents and warriors, many of which are embellished with vibrant colors and symbols of power. The facade of the temple is decorated with talud tablero style, a signature Mesoamerican architectural technique that combines sloping walls with rectangular panels. This style was not unique to Teotihuacan, but it was perfected here, lending the temple an otherworldly aesthetic that still captures the imagination of those who visit. But it is not just the beauty of the temple that makes it so compelling. It is what lies beneath the surface, both figuratively and literally, that fuels the mystery. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent has been the site of numerous excavations, many of which have uncovered objects of great significance. In 2003, an extraordinary discovery was made beneath the temple, a large burial chamber filled with hundreds of artifacts, including offerings of jade, obsidian, and shells, as well as the skeletal remains of a number of individuals. These remains, though incomplete, have been linked to ceremonial practices, and some of the bodies show signs of violent death, possibly as a result of sacrifice. Yet, what is truly remarkable about these discoveries is not just the wealth of artifacts, but the nature of the individuals buried there. While some of the bodies appeared to be those of warriors or priests, others seem to have been of a higher social standing, suggesting that the temple may have been a place not only for ritual, but for political or religious elites. The placement of these bodies raises questions. Were they sacrifices, or were they buried here to serve as offerings to the gods? Or could it be that these individuals were high-ranking members of the society, buried in the temple to ensure their continued power in the afterlife? In addition to the burial sites, the temple's history is riddled with intriguing gaps. The identity of the rulers who commissioned the temple remains unclear, and the exact purpose of the temple itself is still a subject of debate among scholars. Some believe that it was primarily a site of religious and ceremonial importance, while others argue that it may have served as a political center, a place where the elite gathered to reinforce their power. Still others suggest that the temple could have had astronomical significance, aligning with the movements of celestial bodies in ways that were central to Mesoamerican religious practice. But no matter the theory, the deeper question remains: what was the true role of the Temple of the Feathered Serpent in the larger context of Teotihuacan? Even more unsettling is the temple's eventual decline. After reaching its peak, the city of Teotihuacan fell into ruin, and the temple, like much of the city, was abandoned. By the time the Aztecs arrived centuries later, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent was little more than a crumbling monument to a forgotten past. The city was eventually destroyed by unknown forces, and the temple itself was looted, its treasures lost to time. But the reason for Teotihuacan's sudden collapse remains one of the greatest mysteries of Mesoamerican history. Was it the result of internal strife, invasion, or some other unknown catastrophe? What role, if any, did the Temple of the Feathered Serpent play in the city's fall? Some theories suggest that the downfall of Teotihuacan may have been linked to a shift in religious or political power. Could the Feathered Serpent have represented a god whose influence waned over time, leading to the decline of the city's faith and the eventual collapse of the civilization? Others have speculated that the temple's construction, which involved large-scale human sacrifice and elaborate rituals, may have played a role in sowing discontent among the people, leading to rebellion or a loss of faith in their leaders. Further complicating the mystery are the many unanswered questions about the relationship between Teotihuacan and other Mesoamerican civilizations. Though Teotihuacan's influence spread far across the region, including into areas controlled by the Maya and later the Aztecs, little is known about the interactions between these civilizations and the mysterious builders of Teotihuacan. Did the Feathered Serpent hold the same importance for these other cultures? Was it a shared deity, or was it specific to Teotihuacan? And what, if any, was the connection between the Feathered Serpent of Teotihuacan and similar deities worshipped by other ancient Mesoamerican civilizations? One of the most compelling and speculative theories about the Temple of the Feathered Serpent is the idea that it was part of a larger network of sacred sites across the Mesoamerican world, sites that were connected by a shared understanding of cosmic forces and divine rule. Could the temple have been designed not only as a place of worship, but as a cosmic marker, aligning with the movements of the stars, the sun, and the planets? Were the sacred rituals performed here part of a larger, perhaps even intercivilizational, religious or astronomical system? These theories, though intriguing, remain speculative, and the full scope of the temple's purpose may never be fully understood. Standing before the Temple of the Feathered Serpent today, we are left with a lingering sense of awe and uncertainty. The mysteries surrounding this ancient monument are deep, its significance complex and multi-layered. What role did the Feathered Serpent truly play in the lives of the people who built and worshipped here? Was it a god of creation, of destruction, or both? And why, after all these centuries, does the temple still guard its secrets so closely, as if it were waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth? The answers, perhaps, lie buried in the ruins of Teotihuacan, hidden beneath the stones and the sands, awaiting discovery. Or perhaps they will remain forever out of reach. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent, like so many ancient mysteries, invites us to wonder, what other secrets, long forgotten, still lie waiting to be uncovered? As we continue to delve deeper into the dark and unexplained events that have shaped our history, we find ourselves in the heart of Siberia, in a remote and desolate stretch of forest, where one of the most bizarre and mysterious phenomena ever recorded in modern times occurred. The year was 1908, and the place was the Tunguska River Basin, a vast, untamed wilderness in the Russian Empire, far from the reach of civilization. This is the site of what would come to be known as the Tunguska Event, an event that remains a source of intrigue, speculation, and unanswered questions to this day. On the morning of June 30th, 1908, a massive explosion, equivalent to a powerful thermonuclear blast, struck the skies above this remote region. The event was so intense that it flattened over 2,000 square kilometers of forest, knocking down an estimated 80 million trees. It sent shock waves that reverberated across the world, and its explosion was heard hundreds of miles away. But when investigators finally arrived on the scene, they found no crater, no remnants of a weapon or explosive device, just a forest of fallen trees and a deep sense of mystery. The first clues emerged when Russian scientist Leonid Kulik and his team made the long journey to the site in 1927. Kulik, a leading expert in meteorology, was drawn to the region by reports of strange phenomena. Witnesses had described a fireball or bright light in the sky prior to the explosion, but no physical evidence, such as a crater, was found at the epicenter of the blast. Instead, there was simply a vast, eerie landscape of trees knocked over like matchsticks, their trunks twisted and scorched, but their roots still intact. The forest floor was strewn with debris, but there was no sign of a meteorite impact, nor any indication of a man-made explosion. As Kulik and his team dug deeper into the mystery, they discovered other strange anomalies. Some of the trees near the epicenter appeared to have been scorched by intense heat, yet the heat was not enough to leave behind traditional traces of fire, such as burned soil or carbonization. Meanwhile, animal life had been mysteriously absent from the area, almost as though it had been driven away by a force that left the land sterile and barren. For years, the Tunguska Event was attributed to various natural causes, such as the explosion of a comet or asteroid in the Earth's atmosphere. One popular theory suggested that a meteorite had exploded in mid-air, creating a massive shockwave that caused the destruction below. However, the lack of any physical fragments or crater has left this explanation incomplete. While meteorites have been known to create craters upon impact, this event did not follow that pattern. No crater was found, and no remains of a solid object were recovered. Could something else have caused the explosion? One of the more accepted explanations is the idea that the Tunguska Event was caused by the explosion of a comet or asteroid, or perhaps a fragment of one. The theory posits that the object entered the Earth's atmosphere at high speed, breaking apart in an airburst that caused the massive explosion and destruction. This idea fits with the physical evidence, the absence of a crater and the widespread destruction of trees. However, the lack of a clear object or fragment to study still leaves a significant gap in the theory. But while this explanation remains the most widely accepted, other theories continue to persist, some more speculative than others. Among the more unconventional ideas are those that suggest the event was caused by extraterrestrial involvement. Some believe that the Tunguska Event was not the result of a natural phenomenon at all, but rather a result of an alien spacecraft or weaponry from an otherworldly source. Such theories often point to the eerie and inexplicable nature of the explosion, its suddenness, its enormous power, and the complete lack of any debris, as evidence of something beyond the realm of our current understanding of physics and natural phenomena. Others have suggested that the event was a result of an ancient, unknown force, perhaps an explosion caused by volatile gases trapped beneath the Earth's surface, or a subterranean event triggered by a natural fault. However, this idea lacks concrete evidence and has largely been dismissed by the scientific community. Could the Tunguska Event have been a natural anomaly, a freak occurrence beyond the reach of any known process? Another fringe theory that has garnered attention in recent years is that the event could have been caused by a black hole passing through our solar system. While this theory might seem far-fetched, it does offer an explanation for the event's magnitude and peculiar characteristics. A micro-black hole, according to some theorists, could have passed close to Earth, creating the shock wave that devastated the region. However, this idea remains purely speculative, with little to no scientific evidence to support it. As we continue to sift through the available data, it becomes clear that the Tunguska Event remains an anomaly, one that challenges our understanding of natural forces and leaves us questioning the limits of what is possible in the physical world. Despite decades of research, the explosion of 1908 remains unsolved in many respects, its true cause still a mystery. The absence of a crater, the unexplained heat, and the lack of direct evidence point to something beyond the conventional, a mystery that seems to defy the natural explanations that have been put forward. What is most unsettling is the possibility that the Tunguska event was not a one-time occurrence, but rather a warning. If such a devastating explosion could happen without warning in such a remote and sparsely populated area, what would happen if a similar event were to occur in a more densely populated region? The Tunguska event, with its sheer force and unexplained nature, serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of our planet, and perhaps even our place in the larger universe. Could this event be a harbinger of something more? A sign that we are yet to fully understand the forces that govern our world? Could there be other objects in the cosmos that, like the one that caused the Tunguska explosion, lie hidden until they reach the atmosphere? Or perhaps, could there be other forces, beyond the known realms of physics and natural law, that we have yet to discover? As we stand on the precipice of this unsolved mystery, we are left with the same questions that have haunted us since the dawn of the 20th century. What truly caused the Tunguska event? Was it a natural occurrence, or was there something more at play, a force from beyond, or even from within? Until the answers are found, we are left to wonder, what else might be lurking out there, waiting to reveal its presence in ways we cannot yet fathom? In the dense, unexplored jungles of the Amazon, where the air is thick with humidity and the land teems with untold mysteries, there lies an enigmatic artifact that has captivated explorers, archaeologists, and historians alike for decades. The Inga Stone, a large weathered monolith, almost buried by time and nature, sits nestled in the rugged terrain of the Brazilian state of Pernambuco. To the untrained eye, it might appear as just another large boulder, a relic of the distant past, half hidden by the thick forest and moss. Yet, upon closer inspection, the Inga Stone reveals a series of strange, intricate carvings that have defied easy explanation for centuries. The stone itself is colossal, measuring approximately 3 meters wide and 4 meters tall, its surface etched with hundreds of symbols, some deeply incised and others more faded by time. These carvings are not merely decorative. They tell a story, but a story that no one has been able to fully decipher. The symbols, which appear to represent a form of writing or a coded language, have sparked a variety of theories regarding their origin, purpose, and meaning. Some believe they are the remnants of a lost civilization, long forgotten by time, while others suggest the stone is the key to understanding the spiritual and astronomical beliefs of ancient South American cultures. The Inga Stone was first brought to attention in the 19th century, with local inhabitants and travelers noting its unusual carvings. It wasn't until 1874, however, when the stone was more formally documented by explorers, that it gained wider recognition. Early studies revealed that the carvings were highly intricate, and while some resembled known indigenous symbols, others appeared completely alien, suggesting either a previously unknown form of writing or an entirely different cultural influence. The carvings on the stone include a combination of geometric shapes, spirals, and figures that resemble human and animal forms. Some researchers have proposed that the stone depicts a kind of creation myth or a historical narrative, possibly related to the origins of the region's indigenous peoples. Others have speculated that the stone could be a map, marking significant locations or celestial events. One of the most intriguing features of the Inga Stone is a series of spirals that seem to echo the shape of the Milky Way, suggesting an astronomical connection. Could the stone have served as an ancient calendar, marking the movement of celestial bodies, or was it perhaps a religious artifact tied to rituals of cosmic significance? While some interpretations suggest that the Inga Stone was created by indigenous cultures such as the Tupi or the Tupinamba, others argue that the carvings represent a more advanced civilization. Some theories even propose that the stone is evidence of pre-Columbian transoceanic contact, suggesting that the designs could have originated from ancient cultures across the Atlantic or even the Pacific. Was the Inga Stone the product of a long-lost civilization that predated the known cultures of the Americas? Could its carvings be a form of writing, a legacy of a culture that had knowledge of advanced concepts, such as astronomy, agriculture, or mathematics, that were later lost or hidden from history? One of the most compelling, though speculative, theories surrounding the Inga Stone comes from proponents of the idea that ancient civilizations had far more advanced technologies and knowledge than we give them credit for. Could this stone have been a marker of ancient visitors, perhaps even extraterrestrial in nature, who left behind their knowledge encoded in a language no one could understand? The idea of ancient alien influence in human history has become a popular topic in fringe circles, and some suggest that the stone's complex symbolism could be a message from an advanced culture beyond our world. Such theories, however, remain highly controversial and lack definitive evidence. But as we move beyond these more speculative ideas, the mainstream academic perspective suggests that the Inga Stone's carvings are deeply rooted in the indigenous cultures of the region. Some scholars argue that the stone represents an early form of writing, potentially connected to the cultural traditions of the Tupi people, or even the ancient civilizations that predate them. These ancient cultures, known for their sophisticated agricultural systems, spiritual beliefs, and deep connection to the natural world, might have developed a form of communication that has been lost to time. What complicates this explanation, however, is the fact that no definitive understanding of the stone's meaning exists. Despite decades of study, no one has been able to conclusively translate the symbols. The lack of a Rosetta Stone-like key, or a comparative system of writing from other regions, means that scholars have little to go on. The language, if it is indeed a language, has not been found in any other archaeological context, leaving us with only the stone itself as the primary clue. The Inga Stone stands, therefore, as both a fascinating puzzle and a deeply frustrating enigma. There are, however, other aspects of the Inga Stone that raise even more questions about its true purpose. For instance, the location of the stone itself is highly unusual. Situated far from any known centers of pre-Columbian civilization, in a region that was not widely populated or developed by indigenous cultures, the stone's placement in such an isolated area has led some researchers to consider the possibility that it was a sacred site, a place of pilgrimage or worship. Could the stone have been intentionally placed at this location for reasons tied to the natural landscape, such as aligning with certain celestial events? Or was it positioned in a way that related to the geography of the surrounding area, perhaps as a marker for ancient trade routes or important ritual sites? Adding to the mystery, the Inga Stone was not the only stone of its kind to be discovered in the region. While it is by far the most famous and best documented, there are other stones in nearby areas that also feature similar markings, though none as large or as elaborate. These other stones, sometimes referred to as companions to the Inga Stone, further deepen the mystery. Are they part of a larger, now lost system of symbolic communication? Or were they regional markers, pieces of a greater puzzle that might one day unlock the full story of the people who once lived in this remote corner of the world? For many, the greatest mystery surrounding the Inga Stone is the question of its creators. Who were the people who carved these symbols so long ago? What was their culture like? And why did they leave behind such an elaborate monument in a place where few would see it? Were they a civilization that existed in parallel to the more well-known cultures of the Americas? Or were they an earlier form of the indigenous groups we are familiar with today? The Inga Stone raises questions not only about the people who created it, but also about the nature of history itself. How much of our understanding of the past is shaped by the evidence we have, and how much is lost to time? What if there are pieces of history, hidden in plain sight, that remain obscured simply because we do not yet know how to read them? As the Inga Stone stands, weathered by time, but still enigmatic, it serves as a reminder that, no matter how much we uncover, some mysteries may remain beyond our grasp, waiting to be deciphered by future generations. What is written in those ancient carvings, and who will be the one to finally crack the code? The desert landscapes of northern Peru are vast, dry, and unforgiving. Yet, nestled among these arid plains, there lies the legacy of a once mighty civilization that has long since vanished. The Moche people, who flourished between 100 and 800 AD, left behind a remarkable series of monuments, temples, and artifacts, each more intricate and sophisticated than the last. Known for their engineering prowess, advanced agricultural techniques, and stunning pottery, the Moche were a culture that thrived in the fertile valleys of the Pacific coast. But as impressive as their achievements were, so too is the mystery of their sudden and unexplained disappearance. The heart of Moche civilization lay in the shadow of the towering pyramids of the Huaca del Sol and Huaca de la Luna, massive mud brick structures that once served as ceremonial centers and burial sites. These pyramids, whose size and grandeur dwarf anything nearby, stand as testaments to the Moche's artistic and architectural abilities. The Huaca del Sol, the largest pyramid, is believed to have been an administrative and religious center, while the Huaca de la Luna, with its vibrant murals and intricate carvings, was a place dedicated to their gods. At their peak, the Moche people controlled a vast and highly organized society, with a complex class system and a rich culture that valued ritual and art above all else. Yet, despite these great accomplishments, the Moche civilization eventually crumbled, leaving behind only the remnants of their cities, their art, and their mysteries. What happened to this powerful society? Why did they suddenly fall into decline around the 8th century, leaving no clear explanation for their disappearance? Unlike many other ancient civilizations, such as the Egyptians or the Mayans, the Moche left behind no written records to help us piece together the story of their demise. Their legacy is buried in the artifacts and ruins they left behind, art that speaks to their mastery of the human form, depicting gods, warriors, and daily life in vivid detail. But these works of art offer us little in terms of understanding the causes of their disappearance. One of the most compelling theories surrounding the fall of the Moche is environmental catastrophe. The Moche lived in an area known for its arid conditions, dependent on a system of irrigation to sustain their agricultural practices. In the centuries before their collapse, they experienced extreme weather patterns, severe droughts followed by sudden torrential rains. These cycles of natural disaster may have disrupted the delicate balance of their society, weakening their agricultural base and, in turn, their ability to sustain a large population. But environmental explanations, while plausible, only tell part of the story. The Moche civilization had developed a sophisticated system of water management, including canals, reservoirs, and terracing, which helped them thrive in a region where agriculture was otherwise difficult. Could a sudden and unanticipated environmental change really bring down such a seemingly resilient culture? And if so, why did other societies in the region, such as the Nazca and the Tiwanaku, continue to survive through similar environmental challenges? Some scholars have proposed that internal social unrest played a role in the Moche's collapse. Given the highly stratified nature of Moche society, with a small elite ruling over a much larger labor force, it is possible that tensions between the ruling class and the common people led to unrest. The Moche's art and artifacts often depict violent and bloody scenes, including sacrifice, warfare, and what appear to be public executions. This suggests a society steeped in ritual violence, and it's possible that such practices may have contributed to instability in times of crisis. Did the ruling elites lose their grip on power during the turbulent times of environmental change, leading to civil strife? Were there internal revolts that further weakened the Moche's ability to survive? Another theory that has emerged in recent years is that the Moche were victims of a series of invasions. The Moche were situated in a region rich in resources, and their cities would have been attractive targets for neighboring cultures, Could the Moche have been overwhelmed by outside forces, with their cities sacked and their people displaced or enslaved? Archaeological evidence suggests that the Moche experienced periods of warfare, with many of their temples showing signs of destruction or deliberate desecration. Was their downfall the result of outside invaders, such as the neighboring Wari or the later Inca civilizations? Or was the collapse more internal, triggered by a combination of environmental, social, and political factors? However, the mystery of the Moche's disappearance is made even more complex by the nature of their burial practices. The Moche are famous for their elaborate tombs, where they buried their elites with a vast array of precious goods, including jewelry, pottery, and even human sacrifices. The tombs of the Moche kings, such as those found at the Huaca de la Luna, have yielded some of the most spectacular archaeological finds in the Americas: golden ornaments, painted ceramics, and beautifully crafted metalwork that suggest a highly skilled and sophisticated society. But it is the remains of the sacrificial victims that add a layer of intrigue to the story. Evidence from several Moche burial sites suggests that the Moche practiced human sacrifice on a grand scale, with the bodies of the deceased often found accompanied by the remains of captives. Were these sacrifices part of a religious belief system designed to ensure the continued favor of the gods? Or were they a desperate attempt by the ruling class to maintain control during times of turmoil? The last Moche rulers, whose tombs have been uncovered in recent decades, seem to have lived in the shadow of their predecessors, great kings who left behind monumental structures and works of art. Yet the final rulers left no clear indication of why their civilization fell. Did they see it coming? Were they powerless to stop the collapse? Or was it simply too late by the time they realized the magnitude of the challenges they faced? The fall of the Moche civilization remains one of the great mysteries of pre-Columbian history. Despite extensive archaeological research, much about the Moche's end remains shrouded in uncertainty. What exactly caused their civilization to fade so suddenly? Was it an environmental disaster, social upheaval, or military conquest? Or was it something else entirely? Each theory offers a glimpse into a possible explanation, but none provides a definitive answer. What is perhaps most intriguing about the Moche is the way their disappearance mirrors the rise and fall of many ancient cultures. A society at the height of its power, only to be lost to time, leaving behind only ruins and unanswered questions. And while scholars continue to sift through the remnants of Moche art and architecture, we are left to wonder, what might still be hidden beneath the sands, waiting to be discovered, and what secrets of the Moche civilization may yet remain locked away forever? As we explore the mysteries of their rise and fall, we are reminded that the history of humanity is as much about the questions we cannot answer as the answers we have yet to uncover. In the arid landscape of northern Jordan, near the ancient city of Ammon, there lies a site that has puzzled archaeologists and historians alike for decades. Ain Ghazal, a Neolithic settlement, is home to some of the most enigmatic and striking artifacts ever discovered. Life-sized statues that seem to peer out from a distant past. Unearthed during excavations in the 1980s, the Ain Ghazal statues are crafted from plaster, lime, and bitumen, their features so finely detailed that they appear almost lifelike, frozen in time. Yet, despite their clear artistry, their purpose, meaning, and the identity of those who created them remain one of the greatest mysteries of ancient history. These statues, some of which stand over 80 centimeters tall, are a testament to the skill and ingenuity of the people who inhabited the region around 7000 BC, nearly 9,000 years ago. Their faces, though somewhat crude in places, display a remarkable degree of attention to detail, with eyes made from inlaid materials such as bitumen, shell, or limestone, giving them an almost hypnotic gaze. They are crafted in the form of human figures, some with exaggerated features, others with a more naturalistic appearance. They seem to be individuals, perhaps not merely representations, but something more, each with its own distinct characteristics. What stands out about these statues is their scale. Unlike small figurines commonly found in other Neolithic sites, the Ain Ghazal statues are remarkably large and sophisticated. Some are full-body figures, while others are busts or heads. Their lifelike eyes, crafted from natural materials, seem to fixate on the viewer in a way that is almost unsettling. The way they appear to watch their surroundings raises a crucial question. What was their role in the society that created them? Were they religious icons, commemorative statues, or something entirely different? The question of their purpose has sparked a range of theories. One of the most common explanations is that these statues were part of a ritualistic or religious practice. Some archaeologists speculate that they may have been used in ancestor worship, representing deceased ancestors who were venerated or invoked during ceremonies. The size and realistic features of the statues suggest they were more than mere decorative objects. They may have been designed to embody specific individuals or deities, a physical manifestation of the community's belief system. Others argue that the statues could have had a more practical purpose. The Ain Ghazal site is believed to have been a settlement of some size, with evidence of houses, storage areas, and communal spaces. Was it possible that the statues served as part of a social or political function? Perhaps they were symbols of power or status, used to reinforce authority within the community. They could have been representations of rulers or important figures, their eyes perpetually gazing over the village, reminding everyone of their influence and legacy. In this context, the statues might have acted as both symbols and instruments of control, asserting a sense of permanence in a world where life was fragile and transient. Despite these plausible theories, there are no definitive answers. The absence of written records, common in Neolithic societies, leaves us with only the physical evidence, the statues themselves. The fact that they were created in a time before the invention of writing systems means that we are left to interpret them without the benefit of language or direct explanation. Their meaning, whatever it was, has been lost to time. Moreover, the discovery of these statues at Ain Ghazal raises further questions about the development of human culture during this period. The Neolithic era, roughly 10,000 to 4,500 years ago, was a time of tremendous change. It was the dawn of agriculture, the rise of permanent settlements, and the beginning of the shift from a nomadic, hunter-gatherer lifestyle to one of domestication and cultivation. The Murribit and Jericho cultures of this time are known for their monumental structures and early religious practices. But the Ain Ghazal statues seem to suggest something even more profound. These figures, with their eyes that appear to follow you, seem to reach across the centuries with a presence that feels as immediate as it is ancient. The materials used in the construction of the statues also contribute to their mystery. The plaster and bitumen used to create the statues were not local to the region, suggesting that their creators had access to resources from beyond their immediate environment. The presence of shell, bitumen, and other non-local materials suggests a complex trade network, one that might have connected Ain Ghazal to distant lands. Could these materials have been imported from far-off regions, perhaps as part of a long-distance exchange of goods and ideas? If so, what did the statues symbolize in the broader context of these early interactions? Were they part of a larger tradition that spanned across ancient societies, or were they a unique development of the Ain Ghazal people themselves? Another intriguing aspect of the statues is their apparent lack of an immediately obvious connection to any one specific culture or belief system. They do not clearly resemble the art styles of other contemporary cultures, such as the Natufians or the early Sumerians, nor do they seem to correspond to later traditions that are more easily recognizable. This raises the possibility that the people of Ain Ghazal were experimenting with new forms of expression and thought, developing their own spiritual or social language in isolation. Could this have been an early attempt at creating a visual language to communicate complex ideas or concepts? An attempt at a kind of symbolic communication that would later evolve into the more recognizable religious iconography of later civilizations? One particularly fascinating theory, though speculative, suggests that the statues may have been tied to a kind of shamanistic practice, perhaps acting as physical representations of spiritual or supernatural beings. The exaggerated eyes of the statues could be a deliberate design feature, suggesting that they were intended to represent a heightened state of awareness or insight, as though the figures could see into other worlds or dimensions. This idea speaks to the possibility that the creators of the statues were engaging with beliefs in the supernatural or the divine, marking the beginning of spiritual practices that would later become more formalized in the religions of the ancient Near East. Yet, no matter how many theories are proposed, the mystery of the Ain Ghazal statues remains unsolved. What were they truly for? Were they symbols of power, representations of gods or ancestors, or something more enigmatic? The lack of written records, combined with the absence of a clear archaeological context, leaves us in the dark. And even as modern technology, such as advanced imaging techniques and chemical analysis, continues to peel back the layers of history, the mystery only deepens. As we stand before the Ain Ghazal statues, staring into their deep, unblinking eyes, we are reminded of how much of human history remains hidden from view. These figures, some of the earliest known examples of life-sized human sculpture, offer us a glimpse into a world that has long since faded away. But their true meaning, their role in the lives of those who created them, remains a mystery. Was this an early step toward the complex religious systems that would later dominate the ancient world? Or was it a unique expression of a people whose beliefs and practices vanished without a trace? The Ain Ghazal statues continue to ask more questions than they answer, questions that may never be fully understood. As we look at these ancient faces, we cannot help but wonder, what might we still be missing in our understanding of the past? What secrets could be hidden in the silent gaze of these statues, waiting for us to finally unlock their meaning? In the heart of the Indian subcontinent, beneath the vast plains of the Indus River, lies the forgotten legacy of one of the most advanced civilizations of the ancient world, the Indus Valley Civilization. Known for its unparalleled urban planning, advanced sanitation systems, and intricate craftsmanship, this civilization flourished over 4,000 years ago, yet its sudden disappearance remains one of the great mysteries of history. The once thriving cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro are now silent ruins, their bustling streets and sophisticated infrastructure frozen in time, their people vanished without a trace. The ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, with its meticulously laid streets, sophisticated drainage systems, and towering granaries, stand as a testament to the engineering prowess of the Indus Valley people. The city, once home to tens of thousands of inhabitants, was built with an advanced sense of order and foresight. The city blocks were laid out with remarkable precision, the streets aligned with the cardinal directions, and the buildings constructed with uniformity, suggesting a society that valued organization, planning, and hygiene. The inhabitants of Mohenjo-Daro had access to wells, public baths, and an elaborate sewer system that was far more advanced than anything seen in Europe or the Middle East at the time. These cities were not just centers of trade, but symbols of cultural and technological achievement. Yet, despite these remarkable accomplishments, the civilization that created them seemed to vanish as mysteriously as it had appeared. By around 1900 BC, the major urban centers of the Indus Valley were abandoned. Unlike other ancient civilizations, there is no evidence of violent conflict or warfare, no grand battles etched into the ruins, and no clear sign of conquest or external invasion. Instead, the cities simply fell silent, left to crumble into the dust of history. So, what happened? How could a civilization that had mastered urban planning, trade, and technology simply fade into obscurity? The causes of the collapse of the Indus Valley civilization remain elusive, with no single theory providing a definitive answer. As we examine the remnants of their cities, the mystery deepens. Each discovery seems to raise more questions than it answers. One of the most widely accepted theories is that environmental factors may have played a significant role in the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. The region where the civilization thrived is heavily dependent on the seasonal flooding of the Indus River, which provided water for agriculture and trade. However, over time, there is evidence to suggest that the river may have changed its course, resulting in a loss of fertile land and water resources. This could have led to widespread crop failures, economic instability, and ultimately, the abandonment of the cities. But while environmental changes are plausible, they alone do not explain the civilization's rapid decline, nor do they account for the lack of written records that might have helped us understand the full scope of the crisis. Another theory posits that the collapse was a result of internal social upheaval. The Indus Valley civilization was highly organized, with a strong central authority that likely managed trade, agriculture, and urban development. It is possible that this centralized system became too rigid, leading to internal dissent and the breakdown of social order. If the elite of the society lost their grip on power, or if the system became too vulnerable to economic disruptions, the people of the Indus Valley may have turned away from their cities, seeking refuge in the surrounding rural areas. Archaeological evidence of the destruction of certain sites, as well as signs of fire damage in some buildings, suggests that internal conflict may have been a contributing factor, though it remains difficult to determine how widespread or severe this conflict might have been. In recent years, another theory has gained traction: the possibility that the Indus Valley civilization was affected by a series of catastrophic events, such as earthquakes or a sudden climate shift. The region is known to be seismically active, and some researchers believe that a series of major earthquakes could have caused the collapse of key infrastructure, such as water channels, buildings, and granaries. If the city's water systems were damaged by tremors or landslides, the resulting scarcity of water could have devastated the agricultural economy, triggering a chain reaction that led to the city's abandonment. Yet, while environmental or geological explanations are compelling, they still do not fully account for the suddenness of the decline. The disappearance of the Indus Valley civilization was not a gradual process of decay, but a rapid and seemingly complete collapse. Could the civilization have faced an external threat that we have yet to uncover? There is little to no evidence of invasion or large-scale warfare in the archaeological record. Some have suggested that the Indo-Aryan migration, which began around the same time as the Indus Valley's decline, may have played a role, but this theory is speculative at best. If the Indo-Aryans did contribute to the collapse, it is unclear whether their presence was one of violent conquest or peaceful integration. The lack of evidence for such an invasion casts doubt on this explanation. Another fascinating, though fringe, theory proposes that the Indus Valley civilization's sudden disappearance could have been due to an external or supernatural event. Some have speculated that the people of the Indus Valley might have been wiped out by a plague, disease, or even a comet strike. The idea of a cosmic event, a natural disaster of such catastrophic proportions that it decimated the civilization, has its allure, especially given the absence of clear physical evidence pointing to more conventional explanations. Could something as unexpected and vast as a comet or asteroid impact have triggered the downfall of this advanced society? While the evidence for such an event remains purely hypothetical, the notion that ancient civilizations could have been vulnerable to forces beyond their control adds an air of intrigue to the mystery. But what if, instead of one single cause, the collapse of the Indus Valley civilization was the result of multiple, intertwined factors? Perhaps it was a combination of environmental disasters, social unrest, and external pressures that ultimately led to the abandonment of their cities. The Indus Valley civilization, with its complexity and sophistication, may have been simply too large and too advanced to survive in a world that was changing rapidly around it. Despite all the research and countless theories, the disappearance of the Indus Valley civilization remains unresolved. The cities that once flourished with bustling trade, art, and culture are now silent ruins, their secrets locked away beneath the shifting sands of time. There are still so many unanswered questions. Why did the cities of the Indus Valley vanish so suddenly? What forces caused a society so advanced to crumble? And why, after all these years, are we still unable to piece together the full story of the people who built these incredible cities? Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is the question of what has been lost. What knowledge, wisdom, and cultural achievements have vanished with the collapse of this once great civilization? The more we uncover, the more we realize how little we truly know. The Indus Valley. Civilization may have left behind no written records, but it still speaks to us through the silence of its ruins, inviting us to wonder what still lies hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. Could the answers to its mysterious disappearance be lying just beneath the sands, waiting to be found? Or are they lost forever to time? The sun beats down relentlessly on the shimmering waters of the Caribbean Sea, where the waves gently lap against the shore, carrying with them the whispers of centuries-old secrets. Beneath these tranquil waters lies a story of ambition, greed, and the lure of fortune, a tale wrapped in the salt of the ocean and buried deep within the depths of history. This is the story of the San José, a Spanish galleon that sank in 1708 off the coast of Colombia, carrying with it a treasure that has long captured the imagination of adventurers, treasure hunters, and historians alike. For over 300 years, the treasure of the San José has remained one of the most tantalizing mysteries of the sea, a lost fortune of unimaginable value, hiding in plain sight beneath the waves. The San José was not just any ship. It was part of the mighty Spanish treasure fleet, a convoy of ships that carried immense wealth from the New World back to Spain. These fleets, laden with gold, silver, and precious gems, were the lifeblood of the Spanish Empire during the 16th and 17th centuries. The San José, often referred to as the Holy Grail of shipwrecks, was no exception. On board, it carried a vast cargo of treasure, including gold and silver from the mines of Peru, emeralds from the Colombian jungle, and countless other riches that were to bolster Spain's empire. The ship's journey was meant to be a triumph, bringing untold wealth back to Spain, but it would instead become a legend, its treasure swallowed by the ocean, its fate sealed in a violent clash with British forces. In June of 1708, during the War of Spanish Succession, the San José was part of a convoy making its way from Cartagena to Havana. As the fleet sailed through the Caribbean, it was ambushed by a British squadron led by Admiral Charles Wager. A fierce battle ensued, with cannonballs ripping through the wooden hulls of the ships, explosions rocking the sea. The San José was struck, and as the battle raged, the galleon was forced to retreat toward the shore. In its final moments, it was struck by several more cannonballs, and the ship began to sink. As it descended into the depths, it took with it its priceless cargo, millions of dollars worth of gold, silver, and emeralds, a fortune lost forever. Or so it seemed. For centuries, the wreck of the San José lay hidden beneath the Caribbean Sea, its exact location unknown, shrouded in mystery. Rumors of its existence persisted over the years, with treasure hunters and explorers eager to find it, but despite numerous attempts, the wreck remained elusive. The San José became a legend, its treasure tantalizingly out of reach. Was it lost forever, or was it simply waiting to be rediscovered? In 2015, after decades of searching, a team of Colombian researchers announced that they had finally located the wreck of the San José off the coast of Colombia, in waters that were over 600 meters deep. The discovery was a momentous one, hailed as one of the greatest finds in maritime archaeology. The wreck was found in a location known as the San José's hiding place, a stretch of ocean that had long been suspected to be the site of its final resting place. The discovery was confirmed by a combination of sonar scans and remotely operated vehicles, which revealed the ship's remains, still intact and largely undisturbed, resting on the seafloor. Yet, while the wreck was located, the treasure itself remained out of reach. In a twist of fate, the discovery of the San José led to a new set of challenges and mysteries. The Colombian government claimed ownership of the wreck and its cargo, arguing that the treasure belonged to Colombia as it was found within its territorial waters. This claim has been fiercely contested by Spain, which has long maintained that the treasure is rightfully theirs. The dispute over ownership of the treasure has sparked heated debates in international courts and among historians, further complicating the already complicated story of the San José. But it's not just the legal battles that add layers of intrigue to this mystery. Even more captivating is the question of what lies in the wreck itself. What exactly is contained within the cargo hold of the San José? The treasure that sank with the ship is believed to be worth billions of dollars today, and yet we have no definitive sense of its full contents. Historical records suggest that the ship carried an enormous amount of gold, silver, and emeralds. Some estimates put the value of the treasure at over $17 billion. But what other items might lie within the wreckage? Could there be more, hidden away for centuries, waiting to be discovered? Could there be additional treasures, artifacts, or even clues to the final moments of the San José's journey, lost in the chaos of the battle? The mystery surrounding the San José is further deepened by the circumstances of its sinking. While it is known that the ship was struck by cannonballs and caught fire, there is still much we don't know about the final moments of the San José's crew. The records tell us that the ship's captain, with his crew, made a valiant attempt to save the vessel, but ultimately, the weight of the cargo and the damage sustained during the battle proved too much. As the ship sank, it carried with it the fates of over 600 souls. Were there any survivors? Were they able to escape, or did they meet their end along with the ship? The fates of those aboard the San José remain shrouded in mystery, their stories lost in the murky depths. Despite the discovery, the mystery of the treasure of the San José is far from resolved. The treasure, locked away within the wreck, remains tantalizingly out of reach, as both legal and technical challenges stand in the way of its recovery. The wreck itself, lying so deep beneath the ocean, presents its own set of obstacles. Recovering the treasure will not be easy, and some even argue that it should be left untouched, a historical relic of a bygone era. Others believe that the treasure should be recovered for the people of Colombia and Spain, or perhaps for the world, as a reminder of the power and tragedy that once defined the Spanish Empire. And yet, even with the discovery of the San José's location, we cannot help but wonder what remains hidden within its wreckage. Could there be treasures we don't yet know about? Could there be more clues to the final moments of the ship's demise, more secrets waiting to be unlocked by future generations of explorers? The treasure of the San José is far from a simple tale of wealth. It is a mystery that stretches across centuries, touching on themes of ambition, war, and the power of the sea. And as we peer into the depths of the Caribbean, we are left with a question that has yet to be answered. What else might be hidden beneath the waves, waiting to be discovered? What treasures and what stories remain locked in the wreck of the San José? In the vast, windswept mountains of China's remote Bayan Karaula range, a series of strange stone discs were discovered. Stone discs so unusual that their very existence would spark one of the most enduring and perplexing mysteries in the history of archaeology. Known as the Dropa stones, These small circular artifacts, some no larger than a dinner plate, are etched with enigmatic markings that defy conventional understanding. Since their discovery in the 1930s, the stones have been at the center of one of the most bizarre theories to ever emerge in the study of ancient civilizations. Were these stones evidence of contact between Earth and extraterrestrial beings? Or, as some suggest, do they tell the story of an ancient civilization whose technology and knowledge were far beyond what we currently understand? The Dropa stones were first uncovered by a Chinese archaeological team led by Dr. Chi Pu-Te in 1938. The team was exploring the Bayan Karaula caves, an area known for its remote and inhospitable terrain. It was here, hidden deep within a series of caves, that the stones were found, scattered in a cave that seemed to offer little explanation for their presence. While the team was investigating the region's ancient burial sites, they stumbled upon these discs, along with skeletal remains that appeared to belong to an entirely unknown and unusual species. The stones themselves are a curious sight. They are small, flat discs made of stone and have been found to contain intricate carvings that spiral outward from the center, much like a message or a code. The markings are thought to be a form of writing, though the exact language or meaning has never been deciphered. What sets the Dropa stones apart from other ancient artifacts is not just their design, but the eerie, otherworldly quality of the symbols themselves. Some researchers suggest that the writing might not be human at all, and the spiral pattern of the carvings has led some to speculate that they could represent a form of communication from extraterrestrial beings. In fact, the theory that the Dropa stones might be evidence of ancient contact with aliens has captured the imagination of countless researchers, UFO enthusiasts, and historians. What is most striking about the Dropa stones is the consistency of their design and markings, which suggest a deliberate and systematic creation. Their exact origins remain unknown, and there is little agreement among scholars as to who created them or what they represent. Were the markings a form of writing from an ancient civilization, or could they be something far more extraordinary? A message from beings beyond our planet? Over the years, as more of the Dropa stones were uncovered, more questions emerged about their possible origins. Some early reports claim that a local legend in the area suggests the stones were left behind by a group of sky people, or beings from the stars who arrived on Earth long before recorded history. According to the legend, these sky people came to Earth thousands of years ago, landing in the mountains and leaving behind these discs as a way of communicating with the inhabitants of the region. The story has a striking resemblance to the ancient astronaut theory, which proposes that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth in ancient times and imparted advanced knowledge to early human civilizations. But this theory is not universally accepted. Some scholars argue that the Dropa stones are simply artifacts from an ancient civilization, perhaps from the Zhou or Han periods, that used a form of writing lost to history. After all, the region where the stones were found is known to have been home to various ancient cultures and tribes, many of which are still poorly understood. The stones could represent the remnants of a forgotten language or writing system, one that we have yet to fully decipher. Perhaps they are relics of a once great civilization whose knowledge and customs were lost to time. However, the idea that the Dropa stones might be a form of communication from extraterrestrial beings is certainly an intriguing one, and it has inspired more than its fair share of speculation. Could these stones be remnants of an ancient visit from beings not from this world? According to one popular theory, the markings on the stones could be a form of star map or coordinates, perhaps pointing to the location of the extraterrestrial visitor's home planet. This idea hinges on the assumption that the strange symbols on the Dropa stones are not simply a form of ancient writing, but instead a form of interstellar communication, encoded in a way that we have yet to understand. This theory gained even more traction when certain researchers pointed to the stone's purported connection to a local legend that describes the arrival of the Sky People. According to some versions of the story, these beings came down from the stars in a craft that crash-landed in the Bayan Karaula region. The Dropa stones, the legend claims, were left behind as a kind of message or record of their visit, a record that could be interpreted only by those capable of deciphering the markings. The presence of the stones, combined with the story of the Sky People, has led some to suggest that the area might have been the site of an ancient extraterrestrial landing, one that was long forgotten by the people who once lived there. Yet, despite the widespread fascination with this theory, it is important to note that there is no solid evidence linking the Dropa stones to extraterrestrial origins. Most scholars agree that the stones are simply the remnants of an ancient civilization, although exactly which civilization is still a matter of debate. Some believe the Dropa could have been an ancient group of people that lived in isolation in the Bayan Karaula Mountains, far removed from the rest of the world. Others suggest that they were a group of nomads who may have interacted with nearby cultures but were otherwise forgotten by history. There is also the possibility that the Dropa stones are not related to an extraterrestrial visitation at all, but rather serve as an example of how legends and myths can shape our interpretation of the past. The idea that the stones are evidence of alien contact has been fueled by the allure of the unknown, and while the idea is captivating, there is still no definitive proof to support it. Could the legend of the Sky People be an embellishment or misinterpretation of the original findings? Or is there something more to the story, something that has yet to be fully understood? As intriguing as it is, the theory of extraterrestrial contact is, at best, speculative. There is no hard evidence to suggest that the Dropa stones are anything more than a curious artifact from an ancient civilization whose true nature has been obscured by the passage of time. Still, the questions they raise about the intersection of history, myth, and the possibility of ancient extraterrestrial contact remain unanswered. Perhaps the most perplexing aspect of the Dropa stones is not just their mysterious carvings, but the way they invite us to question our assumptions about the past. Were these stones created by a forgotten civilization, or do they tell a story of visitors from the stars? Were the strange markings simply a form of early human communication, or are they evidence of a deeper, more complex history, one that connects us to beings from beyond our planet? As we stand on the edge of discovery, the Dropa stones continue to whisper their secrets from the past, offering no easy answers, only more questions. What else lies hidden in the folds of history, waiting for us to uncover? And what, if anything, could these ancient stones be trying to tell us? The mystery of the Dropa stones remains as elusive as the beings they may or may not represent. Beneath the sun-drenched sands of ancient Mesopotamia, deep in the heart of modern-day Iraq, lies the forgotten legacy of a king who once wielded unparalleled power over one of the most advanced civilizations of the ancient world. Ashurbanipal, the last great ruler of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, is perhaps best known for his military conquests and his ability to maintain dominance over an empire that stretched from the mountains of Armenia to the deserts of Arabia. Yet, it is the secretive, silent remnants of his most extraordinary achievement that continue to mystify historians and archaeologists. The forgotten library of Ashurbanipal. Located in the ancient city of Nineveh, the capital of Ashurbanipal's empire, this library stood as a monumental testament to the knowledge of the time. A treasure trove of cuneiform tablets written in Akkadian, Sumerian, and other languages, the library contained thousands of texts on everything from science and medicine to astrology, law, and literature. At its height, it was perhaps the most comprehensive repository of knowledge in the ancient world, an intellectual beacon of its time. Yet, for centuries, the knowledge contained within it remained lost to history, its significance buried beneath the ruins of a once glorious city. The story of the library's rediscovery begins in the mid-19th century, when British archaeologists, led by Sir Austen Henry Layard, began excavating the ruins of Nineveh. During their excavations, they uncovered not only grand palaces and statues, but also a series of clay tablets, inscribed with a strange, wedge-shaped script. These tablets, it would soon be revealed, were part of the legendary library of Ashurbanipal, a collection that contained some of the oldest known texts in human history. The discovery sent shockwaves through the academic world and provided a window into the intellectual and cultural achievements of one of the most powerful empires of the ancient world. But even as scholars pieced together the remnants of Ashurbanipal's library, the questions surrounding it only deepened. How could such a vast collection of knowledge, accumulated over centuries, have been preserved for so long in a region ravaged by war, conquest, and time? What secrets did the library contain, and why was it so deliberately hidden away, seemingly abandoned in the ruins of Nineveh? And, perhaps most intriguing of all, what might still be hidden beneath the sands, waiting to be uncovered? The library of Ashurbanipal was, without a doubt, one of the most remarkable achievements of the ancient world. The king himself was an avid scholar, deeply invested in the preservation and collection of knowledge. He sought out texts from all corners of his empire, commissioning scribes to copy ancient works, including stories from the Epic of Gilgamesh, the earliest known accounts of creation, and even astrological writings from as far afield as Babylon and Egypt. The library also contained numerous royal decrees, legal codes, and scientific treatises, documents that could give us insight into how the Assyrian Empire governed its vast territories, as well as how its people understood the world around them. The tablets found at Nineveh are a mix of literary, historical, and scientific works, an astonishing collection that reveals the intellectual life of the Assyrians. There are fragments of epic tales, prayers, and hymns, as well as legal texts that shed light on the complexities of Assyrian society and law. Some tablets describe the king's military campaigns, while others contain medical and astronomical writings. The library also included administrative records, royal correspondence, and theological works, paintings of the Assyrian worldview in the words of the ancient scribes who preserved them. But for all the revelations the library has provided, the mystery remains. What more might be hidden? Many scholars believe that while significant portions of the library have been unearthed, there are likely still many fragments buried beneath the ruins of Nineveh or scattered across the ancient world. As archaeological techniques advance and more sites are explored, it is possible that further fragments of Ashurbanipal's collection will surface, unlocking more secrets about this fascinating and enigmatic civilization. The discovery of these additional tablets could radically alter our understanding of the Assyrian Empire and its place in the history of the ancient world. Yet, as fascinating as the surviving tablets are, they raise even more questions. Why was this library so deliberately preserved? What was Ashurbanipal's intention in collecting such a vast array of knowledge? Did he foresee that future generations would one day search for the keys to understanding his empire? Or was his library simply a reflection of his own scholarly interests? A vanity project, perhaps, built to ensure his intellectual legacy lived on after his death? Perhaps more curious is the fact that the library was so carefully hidden away, nearly lost to time. In 612 BC, Nineveh was sacked by a coalition of Babylonians, Medes, and others, and the great city was left in ruins. While many of the city's palaces and temples were looted and destroyed, Ashurbanipal's library, so rich with knowledge, was left behind, its fate sealed beneath the earth. Over time, it became nothing more than a distant memory. How could such an important collection of knowledge be so easily forgotten by the very people who had built it? Some scholars suggest that the library's abandonment was not accidental. Could it have been intentionally buried by later civilizations, perhaps as a way of hiding the knowledge within it? Were the secrets of Ashurbanipal's library so dangerous or so powerful that later rulers chose to conceal them, And if this was the case, what could have been contained within those texts that would prompt such drastic measures? Could they have contained knowledge so advanced, so far beyond its time, that it became too dangerous to preserve? Others have speculated that the loss of the library might have been part of a larger pattern in the history of ancient civilizations, a cycle in which knowledge is lost and rediscovered, only to be lost again. It is possible that the destruction of the Assyrian Empire, coupled with the rise of new powers in the region, led to a deliberate erasure of Ashurbanipal's intellectual legacy. After all, history is written by the victors, and the Babylonians, who conquered Nineveh, may have seen Ashurbanipal's achievements as a threat to their own narrative of history. Despite the library's rediscovery, it remains clear that much of its contents have been lost. The texts that have survived provide an invaluable glimpse into the Assyrian worldview and offer a rich repository of ancient knowledge. But what might still be hidden? Could there be more to be uncovered beneath the ruins of Nineveh? Are there still fragments of lost wisdom, perhaps even forgotten technologies, waiting to be revealed? The forgotten library of Ashurbanipal stands as a haunting reminder of both the fragility and resilience of human knowledge. It is a testament to the intellectual achievements of the Assyrian Empire, but also a symbol of how easily such knowledge can be lost, buried by the sands of time, or intentionally erased by those who come after. As we continue to piece together the fragments of Ashurbanipal's library, we are left to wonder, what else might we uncover? What secrets of the ancient world have we yet to discover, hidden beneath the layers of history and time? The mystery of the forgotten library of Ashurbanipal remains unsolved, its full story still waiting to be told. Could there be more of Ashurbanipal's legacy waiting to be uncovered? Or has the library's greatest secret already slipped beyond our grasp? The answers may be buried, but they are not lost forever. And as the sands of time shift, we can only wonder what still lies beneath. Deep within the rugged hills of southeastern Turkey, just a short distance from the Syrian border, lies a site that defies our understanding of the ancient world. Göbekli Tepe, its name translating roughly to Potbelly Hill, is an archaeological enigma that has both baffled and fascinated researchers since its discovery in the 1990s. When one stands before this ancient complex of megalithic pillars, it is difficult not to feel a profound sense of awe, as if standing on the threshold of a mystery that transcends time itself. What makes Göbekli Tepe so extraordinary is not simply its age. This is a site that predates the earliest known cities and civilizations by thousands of years. At over 11,000 years old, it is far older than the Great Pyramids of Egypt, Stonehenge, and even the earliest Mesopotamian cities. But it's not just the age that makes this site unique. It's the sheer scale and sophistication of the structure. The pillars at Göbekli Tepe, some weighing as much as 20 tons, are arranged in circular and rectangular formations, resembling a kind of temple complex. These massive stone pillars are adorned with intricate carvings of animals, such as lions, snakes, scorpions, and birds, images that seem to hint at a religious or symbolic significance, but whose precise meaning remains elusive. The questions surrounding Göbekli Tepe are numerous and profound. Why was such an immense effort put into constructing a site at a time when humanity had not yet transitioned to settled agricultural societies? How did the people who built it manage to carve and transport such massive stones, using tools that by all current evidence should not have been capable of such feats? And, perhaps most intriguingly, why was it abandoned and deliberately buried around 8000 BCE, long before the first cities rose in the Fertile Crescent? These questions lead us into a realm of speculation, where ideas of lost civilizations, forgotten technologies, and ancient knowledge begin to emerge. What we know for certain is that Göbekli Tepe was built by a group of hunter-gatherers. nomadic people who had not yet developed the technologies associated with the rise of agriculture and permanent settlement. This alone is enough to challenge traditional understandings of prehistoric human societies. Why would people, who were still living in tents and hunting with stone tools, create a structure of such complexity and grandeur? What motivated them to put so much effort into a site that appears to have had no practical function, at least in terms of food production or habitation? The answer, many scholars believe, lies in the realm of ritual and spirituality. The carvings on the pillars at Göbekli Tepe depict a wide variety of animals, some of which were considered sacred or totemic by ancient cultures. The presence of these animal carvings suggests that the site may have been used for religious or ceremonial purposes, perhaps as a place of worship, a temple, or an astronomical observatory. This idea is supported by the discovery of several large, circular enclosures, which would have created a dramatic and awe-inspiring environment for rituals and gatherings. But if Göbekli Tepe was a place of worship, who were the people worshiping, and what were they worshiping? The carvings of animals such as the fox, wild boar, and eagle hint at a possible connection to the natural world, suggesting that the builders may have believed in animism or some form of nature worship. Some scholars have even speculated that the site could have been used for astronomical observations, with the arrangement of the pillars aligning with the stars or celestial events, much like the later construction of Stonehenge. This would suggest a highly sophisticated understanding of the cosmos, one that may have been passed down from earlier, lost traditions. Yet, there are those who propose a more speculative theory, that Göbekli Tepe could represent a lost, advanced civilization, far more advanced than we give prehistoric humans credit for. Could the builders of this site have had access to knowledge or technologies that were lost in the intervening millennia? There are, after all, many unanswered questions about how such a complex and highly organized site could have been constructed without the wheel, metal tools, or other technologies that were believed to be prerequisites for such an undertaking. Some fringe theorists have even suggested that Göbekli Tepe's construction might have been influenced by extraterrestrial visitors, an idea that plays into the popular ancient astronaut theory. According to this hypothesis, advanced beings from beyond Earth might have shared their knowledge with early humans, guiding them in the creation of monumental structures like Göbekli Tepe. While this theory has no concrete evidence to support it, it remains an intriguing part of the narrative that surrounds the site. More grounded explanations suggest that Göbekli Tepe might represent an early attempt at civilization, a place where ancient people gathered to worship, communicate, and share knowledge. Some archaeologists argue that the site was a center for cultural exchange and could have played a crucial role in the development of later, more complex societies. The site's deliberate burial, they argue, may have been a symbolic act, a way of preserving it for future generations, or a way of signaling its end as a center of religious power. One of the most remarkable aspects of Göbekli Tepe's discovery is the fact that it was deliberately buried. Around 8000 BCE, after having been in use for perhaps a millennium, the site was carefully covered with a layer of earth and abandoned. The reasons for this are unclear, but the act of burial suggests a deliberate decision, perhaps to protect the site or to mark its closure. Why would such an important site be hidden away? Was it abandoned due to a change in religious practices, a shift in political power, or the rise of new, competing civilizations? Or, as some have suggested, was it buried to protect its secrets from those who might have misused or misunderstood its purpose? Despite the ongoing excavation efforts at Göbekli Tepe, much of the site remains unexplored. Archaeologists are still uncovering new pillars, carvings, and enclosures, and there are likely many more hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered. As the excavation progresses, we may learn more about the true purpose of this ancient place and the people who created it. But for now, the site remains an enigma, a testament to a long-lost culture whose motives and beliefs are, for the most part, hidden from us. What does Göbekli Tepe truly represent? Is it a monumental expression of early human spirituality, a relic of an unknown advanced civilization, or something else entirely? And what, if anything, might still be waiting to be uncovered beneath the earth? As we continue to explore the mysteries of Göbekli Tepe, we are reminded that the past is not a fixed narrative, but a vast and untapped reservoir of secrets, secrets that have yet to be revealed, and mysteries that remain unresolved. In the shadow of these ancient stones, we are left to wonder, what ancient knowledge and forgotten stories still lie buried, waiting for the right moment to be rediscovered? The vast, dry expanse of Egypt's Fayum Desert holds one of the most enigmatic monuments from the Middle Kingdom period, the Black Pyramid of Amenemhat III. Located near the ancient town of Hawara, this structure is as mysterious as it is imposing, a striking example of Egyptian grandeur and a symbol of the unrelenting passage of time. As the sun sets over the desert, the dark silhouette of the pyramid stands stark against the fading light, its massive, crumbling shape defying modern understanding of ancient architecture. The Black Pyramid is not one of the great wonders of the ancient world, like the pyramids of Giza or the towering temples of Karnak. It's a lesser-known monument, often overshadowed by its more famous counterparts. But its obscurity only serves to heighten the mystery that surrounds it. Built during the reign of Amenemhat III, the 12th pharaoh of Egypt's 12th dynasty, circa 1800 BC, the Black Pyramid was designed to be his final resting place. However, something about this pyramid is different, something that raises more questions than answers. The first and most obvious feature of the Black Pyramid is its unusual construction. Unlike the smooth, gleaming faces of the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Black Pyramid is made of mud brick, not stone. Over the centuries, the structure's surface has darkened due to a combination of weathering and the decay of its mud brick layers, giving it the black appearance that it is now known for. The pyramid's form is also more squat and irregular compared to the sharp, perfect angles of the more famous pyramids, suggesting an architectural experimentation or deviation from the standard. This alone raises an intriguing question. Why did Amenemhat III choose such an unconventional material for his tomb? Mud brick, while widely used for construction in ancient Egypt, was not typically the material of choice for royal pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, was constructed with massive limestone blocks, while the Black Pyramid was built with mud brick that could easily erode over time. Did Amenemhat III intend for this pyramid to be a temporary structure, or was there a deeper purpose behind this unusual material choice? Adding to the intrigue is the pyramid's placement. Unlike other royal tombs, which were built near the major burial grounds of the Giza Plateau, the Black Pyramid was constructed far from the well-established necropolis. It is situated in the Fayum region, an area associated with the cult of the crocodile god Sobek. This was not the traditional burial site of the pharaohs, raising the question of whether Amenemhat III had a personal connection to the region or whether the pyramid itself had a different kind of significance. Even more puzzling are the various anomalies surrounding the pyramid's internal layout. Archaeologists have found that, unlike the grand chambers of the pyramids at Giza, the Black Pyramid's interior is a maze of narrow passages and undecorated, unfinished chambers. The most notable feature of the interior is a burial chamber that appears to have been hastily constructed, with unfinished walls, and a lack of the elaborate funerary decorations typically seen in royal tombs. What's even stranger is the discovery of a strange pit near the base of the pyramid, an excavation that seemed to lead nowhere. Some believe it was a failed attempt to create a secret passage, while others speculate it could have been a ritualistic feature, a space for ceremonial use that was never completed. The incomplete nature of the Black Pyramid suggests that it may have never served its intended purpose. Ancient texts indicate that Amenemhat III ruled for a long and prosperous 45 years, yet his tomb appears to have been hurriedly constructed and left unfinished. Why was the pyramid so incomplete? Could there have been an interruption in the construction process, perhaps due to the pharaoh's death, a political upheaval, or a shift in religious beliefs? Some have speculated that the unfinished nature of the pyramid is a sign that Amenemhat III's reign was not as stable as historians once thought. Was his death surrounded by mystery, perhaps leading to a rushed or even abandoned construction of his burial place? The Black Pyramid's unusual construction and layout have fueled a range of speculative theories, some more grounded than others. Some scholars suggest that the pyramid's unique design was an experiment, a conscious attempt to push the boundaries of pyramid construction. Perhaps Amenemhat III, in his quest for immortality, sought to create a tomb that was truly unique, one that would set him apart from his predecessors. But why mud brick? Could it have been a deliberate choice to make the pyramid a more humble structure, symbolizing the pharaoh's connection to the common people rather than his elevation above them? Another theory posits that the Black Pyramid may have had a symbolic or spiritual purpose beyond that of a tomb. Its location in the Fayum region, an area associated with the worship of Sobek, suggests that Amenemhat III may have wanted to align himself with this ancient god, whose associations with fertility, water, and the crocodile made him a powerful figure in Egyptian religion. Was the pyramid, then, more than just a tomb? Could it have been a kind of temple to Sobek, or even an offering to the gods of the Nile, built in a location that was spiritually significant to the pharaoh? There is also the possibility that the Black Pyramid holds secrets about the decline of the Middle Kingdom. While Amenemhat III's reign was marked by wealth and prosperity, it also marked the beginning of a gradual decline in the central power of the pharaohs. The pyramid's unfinished state may reflect a broader shift in Egypt's political landscape, a time when the ancient order was starting to unravel, with power becoming decentralized and royal authority weakening. Could the Black Pyramid be a symbol of the crumbling of the Middle Kingdom, a time when Egypt was no longer able to maintain the grandeur of earlier periods? Despite decades of exploration and research, many questions remain unanswered about the Black Pyramid. Its unfinished state, its choice of materials, and its remote location continue to puzzle historians and archaeologists. Perhaps the answers to these questions lie hidden beneath the pyramid itself, in the secrets of its darkened walls, waiting to be uncovered. Could there be hidden chambers or inscriptions that would shed light on the true purpose of this peculiar structure? Or perhaps the pyramid's mysteries are meant to remain unresolved, forever a symbol of the complexity and enigma of Egypt's ancient past. As we stand before the Black Pyramid, it is impossible not to be struck by its quiet majesty. Though weathered and broken, it still stands, an ancient monument to a pharaoh whose tomb remains one of the most perplexing puzzles of the ancient world. What was Amenemhat III truly trying to achieve with this odd and incomplete structure? What secrets lie buried within the sands of the Fayum Desert, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered? The Black Pyramid, like so many other ancient mysteries, offers more questions than answers. But perhaps, in that very uncertainty, lies its power. It serves as a reminder that, even in the most advanced and sophisticated civilizations, there are stories left untold, monuments left unfinished, and mysteries that will forever remain hidden in the shadows. As the golden rays of the Egyptian sun set over the vast sands of the Nile Valley, one can almost imagine the ancient priests and pharaohs of Egypt gazing at the towering monuments that surrounded them. Among these monuments, some of the most iconic were the Great Pyramids, the obelisks, and the temples. But one symbol stands out as particularly mysterious: the Benben stone. The Benben stone, an ancient Egyptian artifact, has captivated historians and archaeologists for centuries, evoking a sense of awe and intrigue. Though no complete specimen of the stone has survived intact, references to it abound in ancient texts, suggesting it held great significance in Egyptian cosmology and religion. Descriptions of the Benben stone appear in the pyramid texts and the coffin texts, two of the oldest religious texts from Egypt. In these writings, the stone is described as a sacred object, associated with the very birth of the world itself, a symbol of creation and a central point in the Egyptian understanding of the universe. But what was the Benben stone, and why did it hold such profound importance to the Egyptians, especially considering its elusive nature? To understand its significance, we must first explore its physical characteristics, its mythological connections, and the myriad theories surrounding its purpose. The Benben is often described as a pyramid-like stone, a rough-hewn object that was said to be the very essence of the primordial mound, the first land that emerged from the waters of chaos, or Nun, in ancient Egyptian cosmology. According to the creation myth, the god Atum arose from this mound in the beginning of time. It was from this stone, and the cosmic symbolism it represented, that the Egyptians believed the world itself came into being. In many depictions, the Benben stone is described as a sharp, pointed pyramid or obelisk, its shape mirroring the peak of the Great Pyramids themselves, but it is not merely a physical object. It is a symbol, an ancient icon that connects the pharaohs to the gods. Ancient Egyptians believed that the Benben was the stone atop the Pyramid of the Sun at Heliopolis, a city that was once the religious center of Egypt. There, it was kept in the temple of the sun god Ra, in the form of a pyramidion, which was a small pyramid-shaped stone that crowned the top of a temple or pyramid. The Benben was said to be the dwelling place of Ra's divine essence, and it is said that it marked the place where the sun god's power entered the world. But the stone's significance extends far beyond its association with the sun god Ra. In Egyptian mythology, the Benben was also connected to the creation of the world itself. The term Benben is thought to refer to the primeval mound from which all creation began, a central sacred object that linked the earth to the cosmos. When ancient Egyptians would speak of creation, they often referred to the Benben as a tangible representation of the divine forces that shaped the world. Despite its profound importance, the Benben stone itself has never been fully understood. In fact, there is no evidence to suggest that any single definitive Benben stone has survived to the modern era. Some scholars suggest that the term Benben referred to an entire class of objects, similar to pyramidions, that were placed atop temples and obelisks as symbols of creation. These stones were likely made of a variety of materials, including granite, basalt, and limestone, and they often bore inscriptions that tied them to the gods and the pharaohs. One of the most intriguing mysteries about the Benben stone is its connection to the idea of sacred geometry and astronomy. As we know from other aspects of Egyptian culture, the Egyptians had an advanced understanding of geometry and the stars. The pyramids, for example, were aligned with the stars, and the structures themselves seemed to embody the principles of sacred geometry, with their proportions and angles reflecting the very laws of the universe. Could the Benben stone have played a role in this celestial architecture? Was it part of an astronomical ritual or a larger symbolic framework that connected the pharaohs to the heavens? Some fringe theories propose that the Benben stone may have been more than just a symbol or religious artifact. Could it have been a device with some kind of hidden purpose? Perhaps something that was thought to contain a form of advanced ancient technology. Some researchers have suggested that the Benben could have been used to harness energy or played a part in some form of ancient power generation. Though this idea remains speculative and lacks solid evidence, it does raise interesting questions about the potential connection between the ancient Egyptians and lost knowledge of technologies that we can only guess at today. The Egyptian Benben stone Others have theorized that the Benben stone may have been a kind of map or guide to the stars, an astronomical instrument that allowed ancient Egyptian priests to navigate the heavens or mark the celestial events that governed the cycle of life and death. This theory draws on the Egyptians' obsession with the stars, the sun, and the moon, which were central to their religious beliefs and agricultural cycles. The Benben, placed atop a temple or pyramid, could have served as a marker for celestial alignments, guiding the pharaohs on their spiritual journey through the afterlife. As fascinating as these speculative theories are, the historical and religious significance of the Benben stone remains the most widely accepted explanation for its importance. The stone symbolized the rebirth of the world and the pharaoh's connection to the gods. In the pyramid texts, the Benben is described as the place where the soul of the pharaoh would ascend to the heavens, joining the gods in eternal life. It was, in essence, the link between the earthly realm and the divine, a sacred object that bridged the gap between life and death. And yet, despite its spiritual significance, the mystery of the Benben stone persists. Where is it now? Was it lost to time, stolen, or hidden away by ancient priests to protect its power? Or, as some suggest, could it still be buried beneath the sands of Egypt, waiting to be uncovered? Numerous expeditions have been launched to search for the physical stone, but as of today, it remains elusive, its location unknown. Could the ancient Egyptians have gone to great lengths to conceal its true form, keeping its power hidden from the world? The question of the Benben stone, its true nature, its purpose, and its whereabouts, remains one of the many unsolved riddles of ancient Egypt. Its role in the religious and astronomical beliefs of the ancient Egyptians is undisputed, but the specifics of its use and the deeper meanings behind its symbolism continue to elude us. Perhaps it is this very mystery that gives the Benben stone its lasting power. Even in the modern world, it continues to captivate our imagination, a symbol of a time long past, but still holding secrets that might one day come to light. As the sands of Egypt shift, and as new discoveries continue to be made, we are left to wonder, will the true nature of the Benben stone ever be revealed? And what other mysteries of the ancient world still lie buried, waiting for the moment when we may finally understand the secrets they hold? The story of the Benben stone, like so many others from the ancient world, remains a haunting and tantalizing enigma, one that continues to beckon us forward in search of answers. In the deep, misty forests of the Ural Mountains in Russia, hidden beneath layers of peat and earth, lies one of the most extraordinary and perplexing artifacts ever discovered, the Shigir Idol. Standing at over 9 feet tall, this ancient wooden figure is a cryptic relic of a civilization that predates written history by thousands of years. Its presence, shrouded in mystery, beckons us to ask questions about early human societies and their beliefs, leaving behind an unsettling sense of the unknown. The Shigir Idol was unearthed in 1894 by a group of workers who were excavating peat bogs in the remote region of Sverdlovsk. As they dug into the thick layers of ancient muck, they uncovered the remarkable figure initially thought to be a simple wooden sculpture. However, as experts began to examine the object more closely, it became evident that the Shigir Idol was far from ordinary. Made from a single trunk of a larch tree, the idol is intricately carved with geometric patterns, faces, and symbols that defy the understanding of modern archaeologists. The carvings are so precise and detailed that they seem to suggest a knowledge of advanced techniques long before they were thought to have existed. Radiocarbon dating revealed that the Shigir Idol is over 11,000 years old, making it one of the oldest wooden sculptures ever discovered, a testament to the ingenuity and complexity of ancient human societies during the Mesolithic period, a time when the Ice Age was just beginning to recede and humanity was transitioning from a nomadic to a more settled lifestyle. The idol itself is made of a single piece of wood, measuring more than 9 feet in height and it is adorned with a series of striking geometric motifs and faces, some of which appear to be both human and animal-like in form. The central figure is crowned with a pattern of triangular shapes that resemble a headdress, while the rest of the idol is covered in intricate, abstract carvings that suggest a deliberate and symbolic design. The motifs on the idol have baffled archaeologists, as they do not seem to conform to any known style or tradition of the time. What do these designs represent? Are they merely decorative, or do they hold a deeper meaning? One of the most striking features of the Shigir Idol is the series of faces carved into its surface. These faces are highly stylized, with exaggerated features, including large eyes, sharp noses, and elongated mouths. They appear almost as if they are staring out from the past, frozen in time, waiting for us to decode their significance. Some researchers speculate that these faces represent the spirits of ancestors, gods, or supernatural beings, offering a glimpse into the spiritual world of the people who created the idol. Others suggest that they may be representations of a lineage or a family tree, symbolizing the connections between generations. Despite the idol's striking visual impact, there is still no consensus on its purpose. Why was it created? What was its function? Was it an object of religious significance? Or perhaps a marker of social status, or even a tool used in rituals? The lack of written records from this time means that any interpretation of the Shigir Idol is speculative at best. Yet, there are some clues in the symbolism and the context of its discovery that might offer insight into its meaning. In 2000, a team of Russian scientists and archaeologists uncovered an unexpected detail about the idol. It had once been covered in gold leaf. This discovery raised even more questions about the idol's origins. How could a society living in such a remote, harsh environment have had access to gold or the means to apply it to a wooden statue? Gold, a material often associated with the divine or with wealth, would have been a rare and precious commodity at that time. The use of gold suggests that the Shigir idol may have had a connection to a higher spiritual or religious purpose, something far beyond the simple artistic expression of the people who created it. The golden covering also hints at the possibility that the idol may have once been much larger and more elaborate than what remains today. Some experts speculate that the idol was part of a larger religious structure or temple, a monument dedicated to the worship of gods or spirits. Its sheer size and the intricacy of its carvings suggest that it was an important cultural artifact, perhaps even a symbol of power or authority. But without further evidence, these theories remain speculative, leaving us to wonder what the full significance of the idol truly was. One of the most compelling aspects of the Shigir idol is the possibility that it holds information about an ancient culture that has been lost to time. The idol may represent one of the earliest forms of symbolic thought and ritual practice. The carvings on its surface, particularly the intricate geometric patterns, may point to a complex belief system and a society with a deep understanding of spirituality and the supernatural. In a time before written language, the idol may have served as a visual language, a way for early humans to communicate abstract ideas and beliefs through symbols. Some scholars have suggested that the idol could represent an early form of shamanism, with its faces and symbols acting as a kind of portal between the physical and spiritual realms. Shamans, who were believed to possess the ability to communicate with spirits and gods, may have used the idol as part of their rituals, invoking the power of the figures represented in the carvings. The idea that this idol may have had a shamanistic role adds a layer of mystery to the object, raising the question of how deeply spiritual practices were ingrained in the culture of the people who crafted it. Despite its age, the Shigir idol remains an object of fascination and speculation, with numerous theories surrounding its origin and meaning. Some fringe theories even suggest that the idol could represent evidence of ancient extraterrestrial contact. The idol's size, its detailed carvings, and its mysterious symbols have led some to suggest that the people who created it may have had help from advanced beings or even extraterrestrial visitors. These ideas, while far from mainstream, reflect the powerful sense of mystery that the idol evokes, its cryptic designs challenging our understanding of early human history and leaving open the possibility that there are still secrets waiting to be uncovered. Another theory posits that the Shigir Idol may have had an astronomical purpose, with its carvings and figures possibly representing celestial bodies, constellations, or astronomical events. The geometric patterns on the idol, which resemble other ancient representations of the stars and the cosmos, suggest that the people who created the idol may have had a sophisticated understanding of the heavens. Could the idol have been a tool used to track the movements of the stars or mark significant celestial events? If so, this would further add to the idol's mystique, positioning it not only as a cultural artifact, but also as a piece of ancient astronomical technology. As researchers continue to study the Shigir Idol, its true purpose remains elusive. Despite advanced techniques, including radiocarbon dating and 3D imaging, the full meaning of the idol's carvings and its role in the ancient society that created it continues to defy explanation. Was it an object of worship, a symbol of authority, or a tool for celestial observation? What rituals did the people who crafted it engage in? What was the significance of the faces and the abstract symbols that cover its surface? The more we learn about the Shigir Idol, the more questions arise. Its origins, purpose, and the culture that produced it remain enigmatic, leaving us to wonder what other artifacts hidden beneath the earth or buried in ancient tombs hold secrets as profound and mysterious as the Shigir Idol. And what does it truly mean for us today? This ancient figure, carved in wood, covered in gold, and waiting patiently for the answers we have yet to uncover. The Shigir Idol is a silent witness to a forgotten past, a reminder of the complexity and mystery of early human history. As we peer into the past, we must ask ourselves, how much of our understanding of the ancient world is still obscured by the fog of time? And what other lost symbols and rituals remain waiting just beneath the surface to be rediscovered? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow across the rolling hills of Europe, there remained scattered across the landscape enigmatic relics, objects that hint at a knowledge and purpose long forgotten. Among these mysterious artifacts, few are as perplexing as the Roman Dodecahedrons. Small, intricately crafted and made of stone or metal, these objects have captured the curiosity of archaeologists and historians for centuries. With their unusual shape, geometric perfection, and widespread yet seemingly random appearance, they have become one of the most puzzling and fascinating artifacts from the Roman world. The Roman dodecahedron is a 12-sided object, each face marked by a geometric pattern or sometimes a hole at the center. Some versions are decorated with intricate reliefs, depicting symbols or patterns that appear to be random and unrelated, yet each dodecahedron shares this remarkable form, a 12-sided polyhedron. Discovered scattered across Europe, from modern-day Germany to France, Belgium, and Britain, these objects have left archaeologists with few answers and many more questions. Some speculate that they were used in the daily lives of the Roman populace, while others suggest that they served a religious or ritualistic purpose. But despite countless studies and theories, the Roman dodecahedrons have defied explanation. The first significant discoveries of these strange objects began in the 18th century, when researchers unearthed them across Roman-era sites, particularly those along the limes, the border regions that marked the Roman Empire's frontiers. The dodecahedrons ranged in size, but most were small enough to be held in a person's hand. Many were crafted from bronze, but others were made from stone, leading experts to wonder whether these variations signaled different functions or symbolic meanings. Their geometry, 12 flat faces, each featuring a pentagonal shape, with holes or knobs at the center of each face, seems to convey a precision and uniformity not often associated with ancient craftsmanship. Yet, unlike many Roman tools or weapons, the dodecahedrons were not designed for any practical use. There are no sharp edges, no inscriptions that can identify them as part of a specific trade or function. In fact, it seems no one truly knows why they were made or how they were used. Some of the more commonly proposed explanations focus on their possible role as measuring devices. Given the Roman Empire's exceptional ability in engineering, it's plausible that the dodecahedron might have been used for calculations, similar to an ancient form of a measuring instrument. In particular, the holes in each face have led some researchers to suggest that the object could have been a type of surveying tool, used to measure distances or angles, especially in the construction of roads, buildings, or military camps. This theory draws on the belief that Roman engineers were skilled in the mathematical sciences and would have required precision tools to execute their vast construction projects. However, this theory remains speculative at best, as no evidence links the dodecahedrons directly to any form of measurement or surveying. Unlike other Roman tools, the dodecahedrons lack the practical markings, engravings, or features that would directly point to such a function. In addition, the widespread distribution of the objects, from the edge of the Roman Empire in Britain to the heart of its territories in France and Germany, suggests that their use, if it was functional, was not restricted to a specific trade or profession. This adds a layer of mystery to the objects, as it is unclear why they would be so widely distributed without a clear, universally recognized function. Another intriguing theory posits that the Roman dodecahedrons may have been used in divination or ritualistic practices. Ancient cultures often placed significance on sacred geometry and the mystical properties of certain shapes. The number 12, a common feature of these objects, was particularly significant in the ancient world, associated with cycles of the moon, the division of the year into months, and even the 12 signs of the zodiac. Given this symbolic importance, it's possible that the dodecahedrons had a religious or astrological purpose, used by Roman priests, soothsayers, or shamans to predict the future, measure the alignment of the stars, or invoke divine favor. The idea that these objects might have been used for divination seems plausible, especially considering the importance of omens and rituals in Roman religion. Roman society, much like other ancient civilizations, placed great importance on the divine will, and many aspects of daily life, particularly war and politics, were believed to be influenced by the gods. Could the dodecahedrons have been used as a kind of oracle, with priests casting them and interpreting the results based on how they landed or the patterns created by their arrangement? This would not be an unprecedented practice, as divination through physical objects was common in many ancient cultures, from the use of dice to casting lots. However, this theory is again marred by a lack of concrete evidence. While divination was indeed a significant part of Roman religion, there is no direct historical record linking the dodecahedrons to this practice. The absence of inscriptions, written accounts, or other contextual clues leaves the possibility of religious use as nothing more than an educated guess. Still, the idea that these objects may have been imbued with mystical or symbolic significance speaks to the broader fascination with geometry and numbers in the ancient world. A more recent and even more speculative theory suggests that the Roman dodecahedrons could have been used for some kind of astronomical purpose. Ancient cultures, particularly those of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Greeks, were keenly interested in the stars, and the Romans were no exception. Some researchers believe that the shape of the dodecahedron, with its 12 faces, may have represented a model for understanding celestial events, or the movements of the heavens. Could it have been an early device for observing or predicting solar or lunar cycles, or perhaps the movement of stars across the night sky? While this theory remains unsupported by direct evidence, it does align with the Roman understanding of the cosmos, in which the heavens were intricately tied to earthly events. There are also fringe theories that take an even more fantastical approach, suggesting that the dodecahedrons were related to some form of ancient technology, possibly even alien technology. While these ideas have not gained traction in mainstream academia, they speak to the lasting fascination and mystery surrounding the object. Could the Romans have had access to knowledge or techniques lost to time? Or, as some propose, could these objects be remnants of a higher civilization, an ancient, long-forgotten culture with advanced tools and wisdom? The Roman dodecahedrons continue to be a subject of intrigue, not just because of their shape or the mystery of their function, but because they seem to transcend time and place. Despite being found across the Roman Empire, no records exist to explain their creation or use. The very fact that they appear so widely spread throughout the empire without any clear explanation leads to more questions than answers. Why were they made? What purpose did they serve? And perhaps most intriguingly, what hidden knowledge might they represent? In the end, the mystery of the Roman dodecahedrons remains unresolved. Each theory provides a potential key to understanding the objects, yet none can unlock their true purpose. Their shape, their distribution, and their enigmatic silence continue to puzzle historians, archaeologists, and even those with a more speculative eye. As we look deeper into the past, we must ask ourselves, what other objects, hidden in the sands of time, hold secrets waiting to be uncovered? And what do they reveal about the knowledge, beliefs, and mysteries of the civilizations that came long before us? In the quiet, wind-swept plains of Öland, an island off the eastern coast of Sweden, lies the ancient settlement of Sandby Borg. The remains of this once thriving community, which dates back to the 5th century AD, stand as silent witnesses to a dark and unsettling event from the distant past. Here, in the heart of the island's rolling countryside, the bones of over 50 individuals were discovered in the mid-20th century, leading archaeologists to uncover a mystery that has haunted the site for centuries: the Sandby Borg Massacre. The site itself is one of the most well-preserved ancient fortifications in Scandinavia. Sandby Borg was a fortified settlement, a borg, built upon a hill with defensive walls, gates, and watchtowers that overlooked the surrounding lands. The settlement, like many in the late Roman Iron Age, was designed to protect its inhabitants from external threats, and it would have been a place of relative security for its residents. However, the skeletal remains of the people found within its walls tell a very different story, one of violence, sudden death, and an unanswered question: who attacked them, and why? The bones found in Sandby Borg tell a chilling tale. Many of the remains were discovered in places that suggested the victims had been taken by surprise. Some were found near doorways or in areas that seemed to indicate they were in the midst of normal activities when tragedy struck. Others were discovered in positions that suggested they were trying to flee, perhaps seeking refuge behind the very walls that were meant to protect them. The most startling aspect of these findings is the fact that many of the individuals had no signs of defensive wounds. It was as though they were caught completely off guard, unable to mount any defense against their attackers. This has led to a theory that the massacre was not the result of an external invasion, but rather a brutal and unexpected attack from within, possibly even by people the victims knew. The discovery of mass graves, where entire families, including children, were buried together, adds another layer of complexity to the mystery. In some cases, the bodies of the deceased appeared to have been placed carefully, as though the perpetrators had made an effort to arrange the remains in a ritualistic fashion. Were the attackers trying to make a statement with their actions, or was there a deeper, more symbolic reason for the massacre? The arrangement of the bodies, along with the apparent lack of immediate trauma in some of the victims, has led some scholars to speculate that the massacre might have been ritualistic in nature. As researchers continue to investigate, more questions arise. The archaeological evidence points to a time when Germanic tribes were experiencing a fragmented political landscape, a period marked by shifting alliances, internal strife, and external threats. During this time, the island of Åland was a significant site for many of these tribes, serving as a strategic location for trade and conflict. Yet no written records exist that could provide context for the massacre. No historical accounts have been found to explain the events at Sandby Borg, leaving modern-day investigators to wonder if they will ever uncover the true story of what happened. Some scholars believe that the settlement's residents were the victims of a tribal war. The lack of defensive wounds, however, raises questions about whether the people of Sandby Borg had been caught completely off guard by their attackers, suggesting that their assailants might have been trusted allies or even members of the same community. Did internal betrayal play a role in the massacre? Could a leader or faction within the settlement have turned against its people? Or, as some researchers believe, was the attack part of a larger political struggle within the region? Perhaps the massacre was an act of revenge or retribution, carried out in response to an earlier slight or perceived wrongdoing. Another theory posits that the attack on Sandby Borg was connected to the larger upheavals taking place across Europe at the time. The collapse of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century had left many tribal groups vying for control of land and resources. With Roman influence waning, the power vacuum may have led to conflicts among rival tribes, some of whom may have seen the people of Sandby Borg as a valuable prize to be claimed or destroyed. Were the victims of Sandby Borg caught in the middle of these larger, more widespread conflicts? However, there is an unsettling detail that complicates the theory of an outside invader: the lack of signs of a prolonged siege. The settlement's walls were still intact, suggesting that the attackers did not engage in a prolonged siege or attempt to breach the walls over an extended period. Instead, the violence appears to have been swift and sudden, with the attackers entering the settlement, killing or capturing the inhabitants, and then disappearing. This brief yet brutal attack raises the possibility that the perpetrators were familiar with the layout of the settlement, and possibly even had knowledge of the daily routines of the inhabitants. Did they wait for a moment of weakness, perhaps during a feast or ritual, to strike? As with many ancient mysteries, the lack of evidence has led some to turn to more speculative theories. Some have suggested that the massacre was the result of supernatural forces, interpreting the seemingly ritualistic arrangement of bodies as evidence of ancient religious beliefs or customs. Could the massacre have been an offering to the gods? A sacrifice made to ensure the favor of higher powers? The lack of defensive wounds, combined with the careful placement of the bodies, gives an eerie sense that the victims may not have resisted their fate. This, in turn, has led to the possibility that the massacre could have been a ritualistic event, orchestrated by those with control over the settlement. Others have proposed that the massacre was not the result of human aggression at all. Could a natural disaster, an earthquake, a sudden storm, or a flood, have been mistaken for an attack? While no evidence of such a disaster has been found at the site, the idea that a disastrous event might have caused chaos within the settlement cannot be completely ruled out. Could the sudden death of so many people have been the result of some catastrophic event beyond human control? Despite decades of research and excavation, the true cause of the Sandby Borg massacre remains an enduring mystery. The lack of historical records, the absence of direct evidence, and the cryptic nature of the archaeological findings have left historians and archaeologists grasping for answers. What caused the sudden and violent death of an entire community in the heart of Åland? Was it a betrayal within, a conflict with neighboring tribes, or something more insidious, perhaps a religious or ritualistic sacrifice? And most unsettling of all, who were the perpetrators? and what became of them. The discovery at Sandby Borg raises more questions than it answers. As archaeologists continue to study the bones and artifacts uncovered at the site, they are left to wonder if they will ever uncover the full truth behind this long-forgotten massacre. The story of Sandby Borg remains buried beneath the soil of Oland, waiting for the day when its full narrative might finally be revealed. What other dark secrets might still be hidden in the earth, waiting to be uncovered? And as we continue to dig into the past, we must ask ourselves, what mysteries of human history will remain forever beyond our reach? In the heart of Egypt's Valley of the Kings, a place that has long captivated the imaginations of historians, archaeologists, and explorers alike, lies a tomb that, though small in comparison to others, has become one of the most famous in the world. The tomb of Tutankhamun, discovered in 1922 by British archaeologist Howard Carter, remains shrouded in a mystery that has intrigued and baffled the world ever since. Despite its unassuming size, the tomb of the Boy King has proven to be one of the most significant and enigmatic archaeological discoveries in history. At first glance, Tutankhamun's tomb seems rather modest, especially when compared to the grandiose monuments and burial chambers of other pharaohs. It was largely unnoticed until Carter's team stumbled upon it, hidden beneath the sand in the Valley of the Kings. The tomb, designated K-Fiv 62, sat undisturbed for over 3,000 years, an extraordinary stroke of luck that preserved the artifacts inside, many of which were in exceptional condition. As Carter and his team carefully unsealed the tomb, they uncovered a wealth of treasures: gilded furniture, ornate jewelry, statuary, weapons, and of course the famous golden mask of Tutankhamun himself. This stunning mask, crafted from solid gold, has since become one of the most iconic symbols of ancient Egypt. But it is not just the sheer wealth of the tomb or its treasures that draws attention. It is the haunting story behind the tomb and the unsettling mysteries that continue to swirl around Tutankhamun's life, death, and burial. What is perhaps most compelling about the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb is not just the treasure that was unearthed, but the strange and inexplicable series of events that followed. Soon after the tomb was opened, a number of people associated with the excavation began to die under mysterious or suspicious circumstances. Most famously, Lord Carnarvon, the British patron who financed the expedition, succumbed to an infection shortly after the tomb's discovery. His untimely death, followed by the deaths of several other members of the team, led to the widespread belief in the so-called Curse of the Pharaohs. The idea that an ancient curse might be at work has been a source of fascination for many. Was the tomb of Tutankhamun protected by some supernatural force, meant to punish those who disturbed the slumber of a king? The curse theory has been fueled by the fact that, after Carnarvon's death, a series of unusual and untimely deaths followed among those involved in the excavation. But was it simply the hand of fate or coincidence at play? Or was there something more to the deaths than could be explained by natural causes? While the idea of a curse is undoubtedly intriguing, modern scholars and archaeologists have largely dismissed it as superstition, pointing instead to more plausible explanations for the deaths, such as the toxic mold or fungi that may have been present in the sealed tomb. But even with rational explanations in place, the question remains: why did such a series of deaths occur? And what of the strange occurrences surrounding the tomb in the years that followed? Did Carter's team truly uncover something that was never meant to be disturbed? Tutankhamun's tomb also raises other fundamental questions about the king himself. Despite his relatively short reign, Tutankhamun's legacy has become almost legendary. His death at just 18 years old remains one of the most mysterious aspects of his story. He was the boy king, who ascended the throne at a young age after the death of his father, Akhenaten, and ruled during a period of political upheaval. Though his reign was largely inconsequential in terms of military or political victories, his tomb revealed an extraordinary collection of wealth and artifacts that would have been fit for a much more powerful ruler. The most curious detail surrounding his death is the fact that there were several signs of injury and possible illness found on his mummified body. The most notable injury was a fracture in his left leg, which appeared to be the result of an accident or a fall. Some scholars have proposed that this injury, which may have become infected, played a role in his death. Yet, despite this seemingly straightforward explanation, many mysteries surround Tutankhamun's death. Was his death truly the result of an accident, or was it something more sinister? Could there have been foul play involved? Some have speculated that he may have been the victim of murder, a theory suggested by his sudden demise at such a young age. Could a political rival or faction within the court have orchestrated his death in order to take control of Egypt? However, no definitive evidence of foul play has ever been found. Instead, the evidence suggests a more tragic, if not entirely understood, set of circumstances. In addition to his physical injuries, Tutankhamun's tomb also contained evidence of possible health issues, including a clubfoot and signs of malarial infection. Did the young king suffer from a combination of illnesses and injuries that ultimately led to his untimely death? The answer remains elusive, as modern scientific tools such as CT scans and DNA analysis have provided little concrete insight into his true cause of death. What is perhaps the most haunting aspect of Tutankhamun's tomb is the way it highlights the mysteries of ancient Egyptian burial practices. The tomb itself was lavish, but in comparison to the grandeur of other royal tombs, it was modest. The absence of elaborate texts or detailed inscriptions leaves much about the king's life and reign to speculation. Unlike many other pharaohs whose tombs are adorned with inscriptions, paintings, and carvings telling the story of their reigns, Tutankhamun's tomb contains little beyond the ornate treasure and mummified remains. It is as if the tomb was designed to keep the young king's life and death a secret. Moreover, the treasures found within the tomb were not only meant to accompany the king in the afterlife, but also to provide insight into the ancient Egyptian beliefs about life after death. Among the thousands of artifacts uncovered were intricately decorated chests, gilded statues, and the famous golden burial mask that has since become a symbol of ancient Egypt's artistic brilliance. Yet despite the grandeur of the treasures, they also raise an intriguing question. Why such an elaborate burial for such a seemingly insignificant king? Was it the result of a later desire to elevate Tutankhamun's legacy, or was there something more mysterious at play? Perhaps a belief that the boy king would be of greater importance in the afterlife than he had been in life. For decades, historians, archaeologists, and even conspiracy theorists have debated the meaning and significance of Tutankhamun's tomb. Was it merely the burial of a minor pharaoh? Or was there something much larger at work? Could the tomb and its treasures hold clues to the deeper mysteries of ancient Egypt, or to a secret that has been buried for millennia? As we continue to examine the tomb of Tutankhamun, we are left with more questions than answers. The mystery surrounding his life, his death, and his tomb persists, with each new discovery raising more theories and ideas about what might have occurred over 3,000 years ago. The curse, the death of his family, the mysterious nature of his reign. These questions have only added to the allure of this pharaoh, whose life was anything but extraordinary, but whose tomb has become a symbol of the enduring fascination with the past. Was Tutankhamun's tomb a time capsule of ancient Egyptian civilization, filled with treasures meant to guide him into the afterlife? Or was it a tomb with a much deeper secret, one that we are only beginning to understand? Perhaps, as we continue to explore the rich history of ancient Egypt, we will someday uncover new evidence that sheds light on the mysteries that continue to surround Tutankhamun and his burial site. The tomb of Tutankhamun remains an enigma, an unspoken chapter of ancient Egypt's history that has left us wondering whether the full story will ever be known. What secrets lie beneath the gilded mask, hidden from the world for millennia?